Welcome, brave listeners, to tonight's chilling journey through the shadows of California's nightlife. While the Golden State is famous for its sunshine, wine, and glamour, it also harbors a darker side and underworld of haunted bars, ghostly pubs, and restaurants where the spirits refuse to leave. These places aren't just watering holes or eateries. They're stages where echoes of the past replay endlessly, where laughter turns to screams, and where empty glasses aren't the only things that rattle in the night. So settle in, dim the lights, and prepare yourself for 25 haunted California bars and restaurants, so terrifying that even locals whisper about them in hushed tones. From its humble beginnings, it became a sanctuary for those who sought acceptance, a place where laughter and love could flourish even when the outside world was hostile. Yet, alongside its legacy of resilience and joy, there are darker stories, tales of shadows and whispers that suggest the White Horse is not only a historical landmark. Carrying an unnatural echo that raises goosebumps along the skin. Equally unsettling are the reports of physical disturbances. Glasses, sometimes balanced carefully on shelves, have been known to slide off and crash onto the floor with no explanation. In one incident recalled by a bartender, a row of pint glasses toppled one after another as if struck by invisible hands. The staff laughed nervously, lingering to keep alive the spirit of community that the inn has always embodied. To this day, visitors come to the White Horse Inn not just for drinks or dancing, but to feel part of its enduring legacy. They gather where countless others have before, adding their voices to the chorus of history. And if, in the midst of celebration, a glass falls, a cold hand brushes your arm, Bordner's in Hollywood has long been more than just a bar. To walk through its doors is to step into a place that feels suspended in time. A Gothic watering hole, where the glamour of old Hollywood lingers in the air, thick with cigarette smoke that has long since faded. With its dark wood, velvet-lined booths, and flickering lights, Bordner's is a place where shadows stretch unnaturally, as if eager to escape their corners. For decades, it has been a popular spot for locals, actors, and musicians. Yet beneath the clinking glasses and low murmur of conversation, there is something else at work. The bar is steeped in ghost stories, legends, and whispers that refuse to die. Many say the atmosphere alone is enough to stir the imagination. The Gothic, with its candlelit chandeliers and narrow halls, makes the bar feel like it belongs to another century. But the unease goes deeper than ambience. Employees who close up late at night tell of hearing faint footsteps echoing across the empty dance floor. When they flick off the last lights and turn to leave, they sometimes catch a shadow darting just at the edge of vision, as though someone or something is still moving about the place. The dance floor itself is notorious. During the day, it lies silent, a polished surface awaiting the night's crowd. But at odd hours, particularly after closing, figures are seen gliding across it. Not living dancers, but hazy apparitions, partners locked in silent embrace. A bartender once swore he saw a couple in vintage attire, twirling slowly in the dark, their forms translucent. As he blinked, they vanished, leaving only a cold stillness in the air. Such sightings have become common lore around Bordner's, fueling the belief that spirits of Hollywood's golden age still cling to the bar. Perhaps the most infamous spirit tied to Bordner's is Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia. Short's brutal and unsolved murder in 1947 remains one of the most enduring mysteries in Los Angeles, and her ghost is said to haunt several locations across the city. Yet Bordner's is one of the most often cited places where her spirit has appeared. Patrons have reported seeing a pale, dark-haired woman seated alone at the bar, her beauty striking yet tinged with sadness. She often appears in clothing reminiscent of the 1940s, and those who notice her say she sometimes raises her glass as though in a silent toast. But when approached, she vanishes instantly, leaving nothing behind but a cold draft that lingers around the bar stools. Some claim they have spoken to her, exchanging a few words, before realizing too late that she is no ordinary patron. A woman once recounted meeting a quiet, elegant figure who introduced herself simply as Beth. They chatted briefly before the woman excused herself. Moments later, the patron asked the bartender about the woman, only to be told no such person had been seated there. Later, when shown a photograph of Elizabeth Short, she nearly dropped the picture, recognizing the very same face she had seen. Beyond the Black Dahlia, the bar has its share of restless presences. Employees often mention phantom figures leaning casually against the bar, as though waiting to order. These apparitions are so vivid that bartenders have asked them what they'd like to drink, only to realize, with a chill, that no one is standing there at all. One longtime server said she became so accustomed to seeing these shadowy patrons that she began greeting them like regulars, just to ease her nerves. The upstairs area, rarely open to the public, holds a particularly dark reputation. Staff avoid lingering there, describing an oppressive heaviness in the air, as though countless eyes are watching. Cold spots drift through the rooms, and some have felt hands brush against their shoulders when no one is near. One security guard once fled the building after encountering a figure standing in the hallway, its outline faint yet human. When he approached, the figure dissolved, and the air turned icy enough for his breath to cloud. He never worked a night shift there again. Bordner's also has a way of warping sound. Laughter sometimes echoes long after the last patrons have gone, and muffled conversations are heard in the corners of the bar. One story tells of a janitor working late who heard a group of people talking animatedly near the dance floor. He assumed a few customers had been left behind, but when he went to check, the room was empty, bathed in dim light, with only silence greeting him. The voices had evaporated into thin air. Many who frequent Bordner's believe the bar has absorbed the energy of decades of revelry, heartbreak, and untold stories. Hollywood has always been a place where dreams are made and destroyed, and perhaps some of that restless energy has anchored itself here. The ghosts that haunt Bordner's don't always seem malicious. In fact, some regulars believe they are part of the charm, a reminder that even in death, the glitz and allure of old Hollywood endure. Yet there is always an undercurrent of unease, a feeling that at any moment, the shadows could reach out and remind you they are not simply tricks of the light. The lore of the Black Dahlia only strengthens this atmosphere. To many, her ghost is a symbol of beauty, tragedy, and the darkness that runs beneath Hollywood's golden exterior. To imagine her spirit mingling with the living in this bar, forever trapped between worlds, is both heartbreaking and chilling. Bordner's is not simply another bar in Hollywood. It is a living relic, a place where history and legend intermingle, where the past refuses to die quietly. Shadows continue to dart across its dance floor. Phantom figures linger by the bar, and the spectral image of Elizabeth Short still haunts its mirrors and stools. For those who dare to step inside, the drink in their hand may not be the only spirit in the room. The Tonga Room and Hurricane Bar in San Francisco is, at first glance, a whimsical escape into another world. Hidden within the Grand Fairmont Hotel, it is known for its kitschy Polynesian umbrella drinks and the unique experience of watching live bands perform from a stage floating on an indoor lagoon. Guests sip colorful cocktails while artificial rainstorms, complete with thunder and lightning, break out over the water. It's playful, charming, and unlike anything else in the city. Yet, beneath the novelty and theatrics, the Tonga Room carries with it an unsettling reputation. For decades, staff and patrons alike have whispered about strange encounters, unexplained noises, and ghostly apparitions that give the bar an eerie edge. The lagoon itself is at the heart of the mystery. Originally, the pool was part of the hotel's recreation area, before it was transformed into the dramatic centerpiece of the Tonga Room in the 1940s. Some believe the water retains energy from the countless lives that have passed through the Fairmont Hotel, soaking up both joy and tragedy. At night, when the bar is empty and the stage floats silently on the water, employees have reported hearing footsteps echo across it. The sound is distinct, measured, deliberate, as though someone is pacing back and forth across the platform. Yet when they investigate, the stage is empty, gently bobbing on the water. The footsteps continue until they suddenly stop, leaving only ripples spreading across the dark lagoon. The cold spots are another unnerving feature of the Tonga Room. Guests have described feeling sudden drops in temperature, icy chills that cut straight through the festive atmosphere. These cold spots often move, drifting like invisible figures, gliding among the tables. Couples enjoying a night out have complained of shivering, even as others around them remain perfectly comfortable. A woman once reported that her drink frosted over in her hand as the cold engulfed her table, the glass fogging up in a room where the air was otherwise warm. Many believe these chills are signs of restless spirits moving among the living, brushing against them in ways that cannot be ignored. The mirrors and reflections surrounding the lagoon add another layer of unease. Several patrons claim to have caught sight of ghostly figures staring back at them from the water. Often these apparitions appear in vintage attire, men in tailored suits and women in elegant evening gowns, dressed as if for a night out in the hotel's grand ballroom decades ago. These figures never last long. They shimmer faintly in the reflection, a pale outline of faces or entire forms, before vanishing when looked at directly. One guest described seeing a man's reflection in the water, seated just beside her at the bar. When she turned to greet him, the stool was empty, but in the water. His shadowy image lingered for a moment longer before dissolving. The origin of these hauntings remains a matter of speculation. The Fairmont Hotel itself is rich with history. Having survived the devastating 1906 earthquake and fire that nearly destroyed San Francisco, the building sheltered countless people during its earliest days of reconstruction, and some say the sorrow and chaos of that time left a permanent mark. With so much energy contained within its walls, it is little wonder that spirits might find the Tonga Room, with its water and enclosed atmosphere, an ideal place to manifest. Water, after all, has long been thought to act as a conduit for supernatural activity, reflecting not just light, but also glimpses of another world. Staff members, especially those who close late at night, often speak of an oppressive feeling that settles in once the last customer leaves. The laughter and music die down, replaced by silence that feels too heavy, too watchful. Bartenders describe the sensation of being followed as they clean up, their skin prickling as unseen eyes track their movements. More than one employee has admitted to refusing to cross the floating stage after hours, unwilling to test whether the footsteps they hear might one day be accompanied by something more visible. One of the eeriest stories comes from a former server who swore she saw a woman standing on the stage as the bar closed. The woman wore a long, flowing dress and seemed to sway slightly, as though moving to music no one else could hear. Thinking she had missed a guest, the server approached, only for the woman to vanish before her eyes. What chilled her most was the reflection in the water. Though the figure was gone, the rippling outline of her body remained for several moments longer, as if the lagoon itself held on to her presence. Guests, to leave with unsettling tales. Couples on dates have spoken of catching movements in their peripheral vision, figures gliding along the edges of the lagoon. Some describe faint whispers carried by the artificial thunderstorm, voices mingling with the sound of rainfall, saying words they cannot quite make out. Others have claimed to feel the distinct sensation of a hand brushing against theirs under the table, only to look up and see their partner's hands resting clearly in sight. The Tonga Room's blend of theatrical charm and spectral mystery has made it one of San Francisco's most unique haunted landmarks. For many, the spirits only add to its allure, weaving ghostly presence into the kitsch and spectacle. It is a place where the living sip cocktails, while the dead dance silently in the reflections of the water, where footsteps echo across an empty stage, and where the warmth of the evening can be stolen in an instant by an icy, unseen guest. Those who visit may come for the drinks, or the novelty of watching a rainstorm break out indoors, but those who linger, who look a little too closely into the water or stay a little too long after closing, often leave with stories of something stranger, something that reminds them that beneath the playful surface, the Tonga Room and Hurricane Bar carries an atmosphere of mystery and haunting that no artificial thunderstorm can wash away. The Magic Castle in Los Angeles is a place already cloaked in mystery, a private club for magicians and lovers of the craft. Its very atmosphere carries an otherworldly air. Hidden staircases, secret doors, velvet-lined halls, and dim lighting create the perfect stage for illusions, both real and imagined. Yet, beyond the sleight of hand and carefully crafted tricks, the Magic Castle harbors stories that no magician could ever explain away. It is a place where reality and the supernatural blur, where whispers tell of lingering presences, and where the bar itself becomes a stage for spirits who refuse to bow out of the spotlight. At the heart of these stories lies the inner bar, a gathering place where magicians and guests unwind, swap stories, and, occasionally, witness something they cannot explain. The first thing that unnerves visitors is the piano. Known as Irma, the piano is said to play on its own, guided by an unseen force. Guests can request songs, and without a pianist in sight, the keys will depress, the music flowing as if guided by invisible hands. For many, it is simply part of the castle's charm, a delightful trick woven into the establishment's eccentric character. But those who have lingered late into the night tell of something more unsettling. They claim that when no one is near the instrument, when the crowd has thinned and the bar is quiet, Irma plays unprompted. Melancholic tunes drift through the air, haunting melodies that seem chosen not by the living, but by the dead. The piano, however, is only the beginning. The bar has long been tied to the apparition of a magician from decades past. Stories vary on his identity. Some say he was a performer who frequented the castle in its early days. Others claim he was an obscure illusionist whose obsession with his craft outlived his body. What is consistent across accounts is the sighting. A man in a tailored suit, often with a bow tie and old-fashioned flair, materializing in dim corners of the bar. He does not acknowledge the living. Instead, he performs tricks for an invisible audience, shuffling cards, producing coins, and bowing to laughter and applause that no one else can hear. Those who have witnessed him describe the air growing heavy, the atmosphere charged as though the room itself is holding its breath. Then, just as suddenly as he appears, he vanishes, leaving only the faint scent of cigar smoke drifting in his wake. Employees working behind the bar recount nights when glasses shift on their own, sliding across the polished surface as though nudged by unseen fingers. Liquor bottles rattle in their places, and in one instance, a cork popped from a champagne bottle without anyone touching it. Skeptics argue about vibrations or drafts, but the timing often feels deliberate, occurring just after tales of the magician are shared, as though he takes pleasure in reminding everyone he is still present. Some guests leave with stories of direct encounters. One woman claimed she felt a tap on her shoulder while seated at the bar. Expecting to see her friend behind her, she turned only to find empty air. Yet in the mirror behind the shelves of liquor, she swore she saw a man standing there, smiling faintly, before fading into nothing. Another guest, after one too many drinks, mocked the idea of a ghost magician, demanding the spirit show him a trick. Moments later, a deck of cards left on the counter spilled open, scattering across the bar, in perfect, eerie synchronization. He left the castle that night, pale and silent, unwilling to laugh it off. The magic castle itself seems designed to harbor spirits. The building, a grand Victorian mansion perched above Hollywood, is a labyrinth of secret rooms and passageways. Every corner carries its own sense of drama, its own hushed shadows. Many believe that the intensity of energy generated by so many performers over the decades, the concentration, the passion, the illusions, has created a magnet for the supernatural. Magic, after all, thrives on mystery, and what is a haunting, if not the greatest illusion of all? The bar has also been linked to strange temperature drops. Patrons will be laughing and talking one moment, then shiver the next as an icy chill engulfs their corner of the room. Sometimes, condensation forms on their glasses, as though they've been set inside a freezer. These cold spots don't linger in one place. They drift, almost as if an unseen figure is moving among the crowd, brushing against those unlucky enough to be in its path. Whispers have also been reported. Sitting at the bar with no one nearby, guests have heard faint voices in their ears. The words are rarely clear, but they often sound like instructions, as if guiding someone through the steps of a trick. Watch closely. Now you see it. Some have described the voice as warm, almost playful, while others claim it carried a sharp edge, as if mocking the listener for daring to doubt. For magicians, the idea of the supernatural living alongside illusion is both thrilling and unnerving. Some of the castle's regular performers even joke about the ghostly magician, as though he is just another member of their circle. But others speak of him with caution, lowering their voices when his name comes up, as though afraid to draw his attention. The unspoken rule among staff is simple. If you hear music when no one is near the piano, Or if you see a man performing tricks for an invisible crowd, do not interrupt. Let him finish his act. Let the ghost have his stage. To this day, the Magic Castle's inner bar remains one of the most atmospheric and enigmatic corners of Los Angeles nightlife. Between the piano that plays by unseen hands, the phantom magician performing tricks for a vanished audience, and the countless small disturbances that keep employees and guests on edge, the bar carries with it an aura that no sleight of hand can dismiss. It is more than a sanctuary for magicians. It is a theater where the living and the dead continue to share the stage, where applause echoes from empty seats, and where illusions never truly end. Those who raise a glass here may find that the drink in their hand is accompanied by something far stranger: the lingering presence of a performer who refuses to take his final bow. San Francisco is a city built on fog, steep hills, and a sense of mystery that lingers in its streets long after dark. Among its many watering holes and historic bars lies Simon's Tavern, a North Beach dive with a reputation that goes far beyond its reputation as a neighborhood haunt. By day, it looks unassuming, a dimly lit bar with creaky floors, faded photographs on the walls, and shelves lined with bottles that have seen decades of patrons come and go. But when the sun dips behind the horizon and the bar quiets down, whispers of a darker presence take over. Simon's Tavern, according to locals, is no ordinary dive. It is a place where the veil between the living and the dead grows perilously thin. The building itself dates back to the early 1900s, when North Beach was a hub for sailors, longshoremen, and those seeking cheap drinks and rowdy company. It was here that the original owner, a man named Simon Duval, carved out a livelihood for himself. Known for his gruff demeanor and sharp business sense, Simon was also said to have been fiercely protective of his tavern. Rumors persist that he lived in the small rooms above the bar, keeping a close eye on the establishment at all times. He died under mysterious circumstances in the 1940s, some say, of natural causes. Others whisper of a violent confrontation gone wrong. Whatever the truth, many believe Simon never truly left. Patrons describe eerie encounters that defy logical explanation. One of the most common reports involves disembodied voices calling out names. A man might hear his own name whispered just behind his shoulder, only to turn and find the bar empty. Some say the voice is gravelly and old, like Simon's, while others describe a softer tone, almost playful. What chills them most is that the voice always seems to know who they are. Even newcomers swear they heard their name uttered in the darkened corners of the tavern. Then there are the bottles. Bartenders tell stories of full liquor bottles suddenly flying from the shelves, crashing to the ground with violent force when no one is anywhere near. Sometimes the bottles don't shatter at all, landing intact as though some unseen hand carefully placed them down. Staff, unnerved but used to the strange occurrences, often joke that Simon is still running inventory from the other side. More than once, people have reported hearing heavy footsteps pacing the narrow hallways that lead to the back of the tavern and the staircase to the rooms above. Late at night, when the last patrons have gone and only a skeleton crew remains, the sound of steady footsteps echoes through the building. Employees who've gone to investigate find nothing, only the oppressive stillness of an empty bar. Some swear they've even seen the shadow of a man at the far end of the hallway, vanishing as soon as they approach. One chilling tale comes from a bartender who had worked at Simon's for years. Closing up one stormy night, she heard the sound of keys jangling, followed by the slam of a door upstairs. Knowing she was alone, she cautiously went to investigate. The rooms above were dark and dusty, untouched for decades. Yet the sound of someone moving around was unmistakable. As she stood at the foot of the staircase, she saw a faint glow at the top landing, like the flicker of a lantern. Terrified, she ran back to the bar and refused to close alone ever again. Locals say Simon's protective nature has carried into death. Regulars claim that those who show disrespect with her by starting fights, breaking glasses, or mocking the stories of the tavern often experience strange retaliation. Glasses will spill mysteriously, jukeboxes will cut off mid-song, or the unlucky patron will feel a freezing hand brush against their arm. Many take this as a warning. Simon still rules over his bar, and those who challenge his authority do so at their own risk. Even paranormal investigators have been drawn to Simon's tavern, curious to document the activity. AVP sessions have captured strange whispers, names, warnings, even laughter, though skeptics dismiss them as background noise. Others have recorded unexplainable cold spots drifting through the bar, and in some cases, motion sensors have been triggered in empty rooms. Yet the most unnerving detail is the consistency of the reports. No matter who investigates, they all describe the same phenomena: footsteps, voices, and the undeniable presence of someone unseen. Despite its haunted reputation, Simon's Tavern remains a beloved dive in North Beach. For many, the ghost stories are simply part of its charm, woven into the fabric of its history. Patrons laugh nervously when glasses tip over, or when they feel the brush of cold air against their neck. But deep down, they know the stories are not just tall tales told over a pint. There is something in Simon's Taverns, something old, watchful, and ever-present. Those who have experienced it firsthand often leave with a mixture of fear and fascination. For some, the encounters are terrifying, a reminder that the dead do not always rest quietly. For others, it is a strange comfort, as though Simon himself is still at the bar, making sure his tavern never falls into ruin. Whatever the case, Simon's Tavern is more than just a dive bar. It's a place where history lingers, where spirits drink alongside the living, and where the name you hear whispered in the dark just might be your own. The Golden Bull in Oakland is a bar that hums with energy, a place where music spills from the speakers and glasses clink in celebration. But beneath the glow of neon lights and the pulse of nightlife, an older, darker story lingers in the shadows of the building. This bar, popular for its rustic charm and community spirit, carries a reputation that extends beyond good drinks and late-night laughter. Patrons and staff alike whisper about encounters that suggest some guests have never left, figures bound not by choice, but by something darker, tethering them to the Golden Bull. The stories most often begin late at night. When the bar has closed, the crowd has gone home, and only the employees remain. Bartenders polishing glasses or sweeping floors have reported the unmistakable feeling of being watched, not the casual glance of a lingering customer, but something heavier, something that seems to press down from the darkened corners of the bar. Shadows flit across the walls and disappear into the narrow restroom hallway, leading staff to believe they're not as alone as they thought. Some describe seeing tall, human-like silhouettes gliding silently, only to vanish as they approach, leaving behind an icy draft that chills the bones. The restroom corridor has become a focal point for these encounters. Guests have complained of lights flickering, sinks turning on without anyone touching them, and the eerie sensation of someone brushing past them, though the hall is empty. One regular swore he saw a shadow figure dart into the men's restroom, assuming it was another patron. But when he followed, moments later, every stall was empty, the air cold enough to see his breath. Such sightings repeat often enough that employees simply shrugged when asked about them, muttering, "Yeah, that happens here." Yet the bar's most disturbing stories come from below its basement. Few dare to venture down the narrow staircase that leads into the underbelly of the Golden Bull. And those who have described an atmosphere so oppressive it feels almost alive. The basement, cluttered with old supplies and broken furniture, is said to harbor an entity far more aggressive than the silent shadow figures upstairs. People report hearing guttural growls echoing from the darkness, a sound so low and primal it doesn't seem human. The growls have been accompanied by the sensation of pressure, as if an unseen force is warning intruders to leave immediately. One bartender recalls being sent downstairs to grab stock late one night. As he fumbled with the dim light, he heard a growl reverberate through the space. Thinking it was his imagination, he tried to ignore it, but then the sound grew louder, closer, as though it circled him in the shadows. He abandoned the boxes and bolted upstairs, pale and trembling. For weeks after, he refused to enter the basement, insisting something down there was not just a ghost, but something else. Another chilling account involves two musicians who played a set at the bar. Curious about the basement's reputation, They snuck down after their performance, laughing off the ghost stories. Within minutes, one of them claimed to feel a hand grip his shoulder, so firm it left a red mark. When he spun around, no one was there. A growl then rumbled through the dark, and both men fled, shaken into silence. They never returned to play at the Golden Bull again. Some believe the basement's hostility stems from the building's past. While much of Oakland's history has been swallowed by time, locals speculate the Golden Bull stands on ground once connected to illicit activities, gambling, smuggling, and perhaps even violence. Theories abound that the hostile entity could be tied to one of those darker histories, a restless presence rooted in anger or suffering. Whatever it is, it seems to claim the basement as its territory, making it the most feared space in the bar. Despite the unsettling stories, the Golden Bull thrives as a beloved Oakland institution. Music still fills the air, laughter spills out into the streets, and the bar remains a staple of the community. Yet beneath that lively surface, the hauntings remain undeniable. The staff has grown accustomed to strange noises, flickering lights, and the occasional shadow slipping past the restroom doors. They accept it as part of the character of the place, a reminder that even in joy, the past lingers. Visitors come for the drinks and atmosphere, but some leave with more than they bargained for: a brush with a cold unknown, a glimpse of a figure in the corner of their eye, or a sound in the basement that keeps them awake at night. For those who dare to linger after last call, the Golden Bull offers more than just a good night out. It offers an encounter with the mysteries that lurk in the dark, waiting patiently in the corners of Oakland's history. The Biltmore Hotel in Los Angeles is a landmark of elegance and history. Its grand facade and ornate interiors, a reminder of a bygone era of glamour and ambition. Yet, beneath the polished marble floors and crystal chandeliers, the Biltmore carries a dark legacy, one that has never faded from the city's collective memory. Among its storied halls, the hotel bar, once frequented by high-profile guests and Hollywood elites, has gained a reputation that goes beyond its refined cocktails and luxurious atmosphere. It is said to be haunted by the restless spirit of Elizabeth Short, better known as the Black Dahlia, whose tragic and infamous murder in 1947 left a scar on Los Angeles and the nation. Guests who step into the Biltmore's bar often remark on an uneasy sensation, an almost imperceptible tension that lingers in the air. Many report feeling watched, as though the room itself holds secrets it is unwilling to reveal. The sensation is subtle at first, a cold draft that brushes past the neck, a sudden shiver down the spine, or a flicker of movement out of the corner of the eye. It is only when the bar quiets late at night, when the music fades and the last patrons have departed, that the full weight of the place's spectral presence becomes undeniable. One of the most frequently reported phenomena is the sound of a woman's sobs echoing through the room. Patrons and staff alike have recounted hearing the low, mournful cries, soft at first, but gradually growing louder, as if the emotion behind them refuses to be ignored. The sobs are never accompanied by visible movement. They seem to come from the very walls, from the corners of the room where shadows cling. Some guests have paused mid-conversation, glancing around in confusion, only to find the bar empty and silent moments later. Bartenders who have worked at the Biltmore for years admit that these sounds are not imagined, describing a chill that settles over the bar whenever the sobbing begins. Visual sightings add to the chilling atmosphere. Several patrons have claimed to see a pale, female figure moving through the bar's dimly lit corners. She is often described as wearing a vintage dress, her features delicate but drawn, her presence simultaneously sorrowful and hauntingly beautiful. Observers report seeing her glide past mirrors lining the walls, her reflection appearing and disappearing in a way that defies natural explanation. Sometimes she seems to pause, her eyes fixed on a point in the room, before vanishing, before reaching the doorway. The fleeting nature of these apparitions leaves a lasting impression, a sense that something is perpetually unfinished, suspended between the past and the present. The history of the Biltmore adds layers of weight to these experiences. In 1947, Elizabeth Short's life ended in a manner that shocked the city and captivated the nation. The young woman, known for her beauty and ambition, was last reportedly seen in public before her body was discovered in the Leimert Park area of Los Angeles, mutilated in a crime that remains unsolved. The Biltmore Hotel is said to have been one of the final locations she visited alive, a place where she may have encountered strangers, shared fleeting moments of conversation, or simply passed through its grand corridors. For those who believe in lingering spirits, the energy of that final night, mingled with the horror and sorrow that followed, is embedded within the walls of the bar. Employees recount instances when glasses shift slightly on their own, or when a chair is found moved from its original position without explanation. Some guests have felt a sudden chill when seated at the bar, or noticed an unaccountable shadow passing behind them. One server described cleaning up after a late-night crowd, when she caught a glimpse of a pale figure reflected in a mirror. The shape was unmistakably human, and yet it vanished the moment she turned toward it. She later remarked that the experience left her with a persistent sense of sadness, as if the bar itself were mourning alongside the apparition. For many visitors, these occurrences are unsettling, though not always frightening. There is a sense that the presence is tied to memory and loss rather than malice. Some regular patrons speak of the spirit as a silent witness, observing the comings and goings of the living while never interacting directly. Others describe a peculiar comfort in the knowledge that the Biltmore continues to hold pieces of its past, preserving stories that might otherwise fade entirely. The sobs, the glimpses of a pale woman, the sudden chills all serve as reminders that the hotel bar is more than a space for leisure. It is a repository of history, emotion, and unresolved tragedy. Despite the chilling tales, the Biltmore's bar remains a destination for locals and visitors alike. Its reputation for elegance, service, and ambience draws many through its doors, and for some, the ghostly presence adds a unique dimension to their experience. Guests raise their glasses amidst whispers of the past, feeling the weight of history as much as the pleasure of the present moment. And while the spirit of Elizabeth Short remains a mystery, her appearance fleeting, her cries haunting, there is a profound sense that she has not left entirely. The Biltmore holds her memory, and perhaps, in some ethereal way, offers her continued presence in a world that ended far too soon. In the quiet hours, when the bar is nearly empty, and the city outside sleeps, the energy of the place shifts. Shadows lengthen, the temperature dips, and the air carries a weight of unspoken stories. Patrons who linger might hear a sob or see a flicker of pale movement, fleeting yet unforgettable. These moments are ephemeral, impossible to capture in photos or recordings, but they are very real to those present. The Biltmore Hotel Bar, with its polished surfaces and historic charm, exists not only as a venue for social gatherings, but as a threshold between past and present, life and the lingering echoes of death. The stories continue to draw the curious, the historians, and those fascinated by the unknown. Whether one believes in ghosts or sees them as a manifestation of memory and history, the Biltmore's Bar offers an experience steeped in both beauty and unease. To raise a glass here is to be part of a continuum of time, to sit in the presence of a story that has captivated the city for decades. And if, in the corner of a mirror, a pale figure appears for a fleeting second, or a soft sob drifts through the air, it is a reminder that some tragedies leave marks that not even time can erase. Brennan's in Marina del Rey is a bar that wears many faces. By day, it is a lively gathering spot, famous for its quirky turtle races and jovial atmosphere. Locals and tourists alike flock to the bar for the novelty of watching tiny creatures crawl toward the finish line, accompanied by laughter, cheers, and the clink of drinks. The scent of salty air drifts in from the nearby marina, blending with the aroma of food and spirits. Yet, beneath the whimsy and charm, Brennan's has earned a reputation that is far more unsettling. Long after the last turtle has crossed the finish line and the patrons have gone home, the bar reveals a side that few expect, one steeped in whispers, shadows, and the unexplainable. Employees are the first to notice. Staff members report that as closing time approaches, the air becomes thick with a tension that cannot be attributed to fatigue or overwork. Some describe hearing faint murmurs, almost like hushed conversations, drifting across the bar. These voices come from nowhere, yet they carry a clarity that is both eerie and compelling. Bartenders have paused mid-cleanup, listening as the whispers seem to move around the room, echoing off the walls and vanishing when approached. No one has ever identified a source, and the voices rarely repeat the same words. Some speculate that they are fragments of old conversations, lingering like echoes trapped in the wood and plaster. Then there are the tables. Patrons have occasionally found their chairs shifted, drinks slightly out of place, or menus moved from where they were left. While some assume a mischievous employee or the occasional prankster, the frequency and subtlety of the rearrangements suggest something more. Bartenders recount nights when they would return to the bar after a break, only to find tables subtly angled differently, as if a presence unseen had been arranging the room to its liking. The shifts are never violent or destructive, but they carry an unmistakable sense of intention, as if the space itself is alive with unseen activity. The most striking reports, however, come when the lights are turned off. Employees claim that after the bar is empty and the building is shrouded in darkness, strange glowing orbs appear above the bar. These orbs are not like ordinary reflections or lights from nearby street lamps. They float slowly, pulsating with a soft, eerie light, and seem to respond to the movement of people within the room. Some staff have attempted to approach them, only to find the orbs darting just out of reach or vanishing entirely when touched. Several have described the experience as both beautiful and terrifying, a spectral display that turns the familiar bar into something unearthly. Regular patrons who linger into the late hours have also reported unusual experiences. One customer told of a night when she was the last to leave, enjoying a quiet drink by herself. As she sipped her cocktail, she noticed a faint figure moving across the far corner of the bar, indistinct but humanoid. The shape faded when she attempted to focus on it, leaving only a lingering chill and the sensation of being watched. Another recounted hearing laughter, not loud, not exaggerated, but soft, mocking, and childlike, echoing across the empty room. The sound was so precise and disembodied that it seemed to slip through the walls themselves, impossible to trace, yet impossible to ignore. Some speculate that the energy at Brennan's stems from the bar's long history as a community gathering spot. Over the decades, countless conversations, celebrations, and arguments have unfolded within its walls. Each event carries with it emotion, and some believe that strong emotional energy can linger, leaving traces that manifest as whispers, movements, or lights. The turtle races themselves, while jovial in nature, may have served as a ritualistic celebration, amplifying the energy already stored within the space. To skeptics, these occurrences are coincidences or the result of imagination fueled by urban legend. To those who have witnessed them firsthand, there is no doubt Brennan's harbors a presence beyond the living. Employees often adopt informal precautions. Some make a point of acknowledging the orbs or whispering a polite greeting to the shadows when closing, a superstition born of repeated encounters. Others leave the music playing softly to maintain a sense of comfort, claiming that the voices and movements are less frequent when there is a layer of sound filling the room. Despite these efforts, no one has been able to prevent the unexplained phenomena entirely. The bar seems determined to retain its spectral guests, as if it enjoys the attention or the company of those willing to witness its strange occurrences. Visitors, for the most part, remain unaware of the bar's eerie side, focused instead on the entertainment, the food, and the unique experience of watching turtles race across tiny tracks. But those who stay after hours, whether by choice or circumstance, are sometimes rewarded or unsettled by the otherworldly activity. Floating lights drift above the bar, faint whispers brush against ears, and chairs seem to adjust themselves with subtle precision. Even the most skeptical observer cannot fully explain the sudden chill that runs along the spine or the fleeting sensation of being watched when no one else is present. In this way, Brennan's is a space of duality. By day and early evening, it is a place of laughter, community, and spirited competition. By night, When the turtles have gone and the crowds have dispersed, it becomes a stage for the unknown. The whispers, the moving tables, and the glowing orbs transform the familiar into something uncanny, leaving behind stories that are passed quietly among staff and daring patrons. Ultimately, Brennan's is a bar that thrives on its energy, both living and spectral. Its charm is inseparable from the sense of mystery that lingers after dark. Those who step through its doors might come for the turtles, the cocktails, or the vibrant ambience, but if they linger too long, they may encounter the inexplicable, the ethereal, and the eerie. And while the bar remains a beloved gathering place in Marina del Rey, those who stay past closing time know that it is also a home for something unseen, a presence that moves, whispers, and watches, ensuring that Brennan's is never truly empty. The House of Shields in San Francisco is more than just a bar. It is a living relic of the city's storied past. Established in the early 1900s, it has witnessed the ebb and flow of time, from the bustling days of the Barbary Coast to the quieter, modern streets of today. With its ornate woodwork, vintage fixtures, and classic oak bar, it exudes a charm that transports patrons to another era. Yet beneath its historical elegance, the House of Shields harbors a darker presence, one that has become part of its reputation over the decades. Long closed to the public, the second floor is said to host spirits that refuse to rest, casting an eerie shadow over the centuries-old establishment. The most commonly reported phenomena originate from that upper floor, which has been sealed off for years. Employees who have worked the bar for decades speak of a lingering presence, an energy that seems to radiate downward through the building. It is said that a former patron, a man whose life ended tragically within the confines of the second floor, continues to haunt the space. Some speculate that the weight of his despair and unresolved anguish left a permanent imprint, one that manifests in subtle, unnerving ways. Bartenders often report the sensation of being watched, even when the bar is empty. Glasses may tremble slightly on the shelves, shadows seem to shift in the corners, and the hair on the back of the neck prickles inexplicably. Patrons have described moments of unease while seated at the bar, an inexplicable chill settling over their shoulders as if invisible eyes were following their every move. The feeling is fleeting, yet persistent, a reminder that the House of Shields carries the weight of lives long past. Phantom footsteps are among the most frequently recounted experiences. Late at night, after the last customers have departed and the staff are closing up, the sound of pacing can be heard from above. It is a slow, deliberate rhythm steps that echo across the old wooden floors of the second story. Employees have ventured upstairs on occasion, only to find the space empty, dust motes dancing in the dim light, but no sign of life. The footsteps, however, continue, sometimes halting abruptly or moving in patterns that suggest intent. Those who have heard them say the sound is heavy with sorrow, as if the spirit above is retracing familiar paths in a restless, endless loop. In addition to the footsteps, other reports suggest a presence is capable of affecting the physical environment. Drinks have been tipped over on bar counters, chairs shifted from their original positions, and doors closed or opened without explanation. Some staff recount the sound of objects being dragged across the upper floors, as though the unseen patron is moving through the room, searching or reliving some moment from a long-forgotten past. Guests have occasionally glimpsed a fleeting shadow at the top of the stairs, only for it to vanish when they approach. The combination of visual, auditory, and tactile phenomena has left many convinced that the bar is not only historic but haunted. Stories passed down among employees paint a picture of a figure who is neither malevolent nor playful, but instead deeply sorrowful. It is suggested that the spirit lingers, not to frighten, but because the second floor was once a refuge, a personal space that held significance in life. Patrons who experience the haunting often report a sense of melancholy rather than outright terror, as though they are witnessing a fragment of someone else's grief, frozen in time. This adds a layer of emotional complexity to the phenomenon, transforming the bar from a simple drinking establishment into a place where the past resonates with a very real presence. The history of the House of Shields supports these experiences. The bar has survived earthquakes, social upheavals, and the evolution of San Francisco itself. Over the decades, it has served as a gathering place for sailors, dockworkers, and city residents, each leaving a subtle imprint on its walls. Within that context, the tragedy on the second floor stands out, a stark contrast to the otherwise lively and convivial atmosphere. Some believe that the spirit's attachment to the bar is fueled by the confluence of history, personal tragedy, and the emotional energy of countless patrons who have celebrated, mourned, and lived within its walls. Many of the hauntings are reported by those who work late shifts or clean up after hours. Staff have recounted encountering cold spots in hallways, a sudden drop in temperature without cause, and objects being displaced mysteriously. A common thread in these accounts is the timing. Most activity occurs when the building is empty, the usual sounds of conversation and laughter absent. In the silence, the presence of the upper floor becomes almost tangible, its sorrowful energy seeping down into the main floor. Even guests have had encounters that reinforce the bar's haunted reputation. A couple celebrating an anniversary described feeling a weight on their shoulders as they leaned against the bar, followed by the sensation of being gently brushed past by a cold, unseen hand. Another patron reported seeing a shadow cross the doorway to the staircase leading to the second floor, only to vanish in an instant. These moments, brief and fleeting, leave a lasting impression, lingering in memory long after the patrons leave the establishment. Despite the spectral activity, the House of Shields remains a cherished institution. Patrons return for its classic cocktails, rich history, and timeless atmosphere, often unaware of the spirits that walk above them. For those who are attuned, however, the bar offers more than just drinks. It provides a tangible connection to the past, a glimpse into the lives of those who once called it home. The ghostly presence on the second floor, while unsettling, is a reminder of the bar's endurance, its ability to hold stories and emotions over the decades, and the subtle ways the past continues to echo in the present. In the quiet hours of the night, when the lights are dimmed and the bar is nearly empty, the House of Shields transforms. The echo of footsteps, the shifting of objects, and the weight of unseen eyes create an atmosphere that is both haunting and poignant. Patrons and employees alike become part of an ongoing narrative, one that weaves together history, tragedy, and the unexplained. The second floor may remain off-limit, but its presence is unmistakable, a silent reminder that some stories refuse to fade. The Pine Street Saloon in Paso Robles is a place where history lingers like the scent of old whiskey. Once a bustling brothel, its walls witnessed decades of clandestine meetings, whispered conversations, and moments of fleeting joy and despair. Today, it serves as a lively bar and entertainment venue, attracting locals and travelers with live music, craft drinks, and a vibrant atmosphere. Yet, beneath its cheerful exterior, the Pine Street Saloon carries an air of the uncanny. Visitors and staff alike speak of strange occurrences, fleeting figures, and sounds that seem to echo from the past, suggesting that the spirits of the building's former inhabitants have never fully left. The most commonly reported apparition is that of a woman in a red dress. She is often seen drifting across the stage during late-night performances, her movements slow and ethereal, almost as if she is moving through a different plane of reality. Witnesses describe her as beautiful yet sorrowful, her eyes fixed on some distant point as though searching for someone or something she lost long ago. When approached, she vanishes without a trace, leaving only a chill in the air and a sense of longing that hangs over the room. Regulars at the saloon have grown accustomed to her presence, treating sightings as a part of the venue's unique character, while newcomers often find themselves startled or uneasy. Accompanying the visual apparitions are auditory phenomena that defy explanation. The sound of laughter frequently drifts from empty rooms, carrying with it a warmth and intimacy that is both inviting and disquieting. Bartenders have recounted moments when the bar is quiet, the crowd long gone, and yet the laughter echoes through the hallways, fading and returning in an unpredictable rhythm. Sometimes it is light and playful, reminiscent of joyous gatherings, while at other times it carries an edge of melancholy, Other reports include objects moving without explanation. Chairs may shift slightly, glasses tilt or fall, and music instruments sometimes play faint, disjointed notes when no one is near. Staff members have described moments when the piano keys depress softly on their own, producing a haunting melody that rises and falls with no visible hand to play it. A place where the living and the departed share the same space. Some visitors claim to have felt a presence behind them when no one is near, or a light brush against their arm as they navigate the stage or dance floor. Others have reported sudden chills in rooms that otherwise feel warm, or the sensation of being observed from corners shrouded in shadow. Despite the unsettling nature of these experiences, many patrons describe them as oddly comforting, a reminder that the stories and lives once centered in the saloon continue to resonate, preserved in the building itself, where desire, secrecy, love, and heartbreak converged nightly. The women who worked there formed bonds with patrons and with one another, creating a community that existed in the shadows of society. Each encounter, each fleeting moment of connection or loss, left an emotional imprint, and some believe that these impressions persist, giving rise to the hauntings that modern visitors experience. Employees, particularly those who work late shifts or after-hours events, often report feeling watched or accompanied. Some have recounted the sensation of someone standing nearby as they clean tables or rearrange chairs. Others describe seeing shadowy figures out of the corner of their eye, moving along the hallways or across the stage, only to disappear when fully observed. These experiences are frequently corroborated by multiple witnesses, lending credibility to the idea that the Pine Street Saloon is more than just a historic building. It's a vessel for the spirits of its past. Local lore suggests that the woman in the red dress may have been one of the most beloved workers of the brothel, someone whose presence brought comfort and joy to those around her. Her continued appearances are interpreted by some as a protective gesture, a way of maintaining a connection to the community she once served. Others suggest that she lingers out of sadness. Whatever the truth, her apparition is one of the most frequently cited and enduring elements of the saloon's haunted reputation. Guests often come to the Pine Street Saloon unaware of its paranormal history, drawn instead by the promise of live music and a lively atmosphere. But for those who remain into the late hours, when the crowd thins and the air grows still, the spirits of the building make themselves known. The sound of laughter, the shifting of furniture, the brush of a cold presence, and the glimpse of a woman in red combine to create an experience that is both thrilling and unnerving. It is a reminder that history is not always confined to books and photographs. It can linger, tangible and persistent, in the spaces where lives were lived. In many ways, the hauntings of the Pine Street Saloon are inseparable from its charm. The building's past gives texture and depth to the present, creating a venue that is alive with memory as well as music. Patrons who witness the apparitions or hear the disembodied laughter often leave with a sense of connection, feeling that they have glimpsed the continuity of life and emotion across decades. The saloon is a place where the past and present intersect, where the joys, sorrows, and intimacies of former generations echo faintly in every corner. Whether it is the ethereal woman in the red dress drifting across the stage, the laughter that seems to come from empty rooms, or the subtle movements of objects that defy explanation, the Pine Street Saloon remains a place where the veil between past and present feels thin. Its reputation as a haunted venue only enhances its mystique, inviting the curious, the adventurous, and the thrill-seekers to step inside. And for those who do, the experience is unforgettable. A reminder that even as time moves forward, shaping the atmosphere and leaving a lasting impression on all who enter. Vesuvio Cafe in San Francisco is more than a bar. It is a living monument to the Beat generation, a place where history, literature, and the restless energy of creativity converge. Nestled in the heart of North Beach, just across from the famous City Lights bookstore, Vesuvio has hosted decades of artists, poets, writers, and dreamers. Its walls are steeped in stories of midnight debates, whispered confessions, and impromptu readings that have left an indelible mark on the culture of the city. Yet alongside its celebrated literary legacy, Vesuvio carries an aura that is often described as eerie, a lingering presence that suggests the spirits of the past have never fully left. Those who spend time in the cafe often notice subtle, inexplicable phenomena. Bar stools creak as though someone has just settled onto them. Yet when patrons turn to look, the seats are empty. Glasses and cups sometimes slide across tables as if nudged by invisible hands, leaving those nearby startled and searching for an explanation. The movement is always gentle, never violent, but it carries a message on, unmistakable reminder that the energy of Vesuvio is not confined to the living. Regular visitors and longtime staff have come to accept these occurrences as part of the cafe's unique character. Bartenders report moments when the air seems to thrum with creativity, a sensation that rises just before glasses shift or chairs move. Some describe the feeling as a presence leaning close, listening, observing, perhaps even contributing to the ongoing rhythm of the bar. Patrons seated at the tables sometimes feel a chill along their necks or the faint brush of a hand against their arm. Yet when they look, the space is empty. These subtle interactions leave an impression of intimacy, as if the past patrons of Vesuvio are quietly participating in the life of the cafe once again. Among the most intriguing explanations for these phenomena is the idea that the spirits lingering here are those of the poets, writers, and artists who made Vesuvio their haunt. In its heyday, the cafe was a gathering point for the likes of Allen Ginsberg, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, and Jack Kerouac. They spent hours here, scribbling in notebooks, reading aloud, or simply soaking in the atmosphere, searching for inspiration and connection. It is said that some of their energy remains embedded in the walls, in the worn wood of the bar, and in the faint echo of voices that once carried dreams across the room. Patrons often claim that they can feel the presence of these creative spirits, a subtle hum of restless energy that invigorates and unsettles in equal measure. The sightings and sounds are often tied to the late hours, when the cafe quiets down and the city outside sleeps. Shadows seem to stretch and twist, taking forms that resemble seated figures or leaning poets. The creaking of floorboards is not unusual, but many insist that the rhythm is different, deliberate, intentional, as if someone invisible is pacing while lost in thought. On certain nights, the lights flicker, and the reflections in the windows seem to hint at the outline of someone standing just beyond the bar. Those who witness these moments often describe them as fleeting and intangible, yet unforgettable, leaving a sense that Vesuvio is still a home to those who lived and breathed art within its walls. Glasses sliding across tables is another commonly reported occurrence. Patrons recall the sensation vividly. They set down their drinks, step away for a moment, and when they return, the glasses have moved slightly, always in a direction that seems purposeful. The movement is never damaging. It is subtle, as if the cafe itself is nudging the living to notice its history. Many believe this is the residual energy of the Beat Generation figures who frequented the establishment. Their playful, restless spirits leaving a mark on the objects around them. It is as though Vesuvio continues to participate in the creative life of its patrons, inviting them to witness the magic of a place that has never truly left its past behind. Staff members have recounted encounters that suggest more than just residual energy. One bartender described hearing the sound of hurried footsteps moving across the floorboards above the bar late at night, though the upper rooms have long been closed to the public. Another described a moment when she felt a presence lean over her shoulder, accompanied by a whisper of words too faint to understand, yet carrying a weight of encouragement, inspiration, and longing. These interactions, brief and often inexplicable, leave a lingering impression that the spirits here are both alive in their intent and intimately tied to the cafe's creative atmosphere. Even the most skeptical visitors are sometimes affected by the cafe's supernatural reputation. Many find themselves drawn to the same spots once favored by legendary poets, placing notebooks on the bar or pausing near tables where inspiration once flowed. It is not uncommon for patrons to sense a sudden rush of creativity, a spark that seems to come from the very walls themselves. Whether it is a trick of the imagination or a genuine interaction with the spirits of the past, The effect is undeniable, a testament to the persistent energy that Vesuvio Cafe has retained over decades of literary and cultural history. The hauntings, while subtle, reinforce the cafe's identity as a place where history and present intermingle. Patrons come for drinks, conversation, and a glimpse of the city's beat culture. But many leave with an awareness that they have encountered something beyond the ordinary. The creaking bar stools, sliding glasses, and whispered presences serve as reminders that Vesuvio is more than a bar. It is a living museum of creativity, memory, and lingering energy. It embodies the restless spirit of those who once sought inspiration within its walls, ensuring that the cafe remains alive not only in the present, but in the shadows of its storied past. In this way, Vesuvio Cafe offers an experience unlike any other. It is a place where patrons can sip their drinks while sensing echoes of the past, where the energy of long-dead poets seems to drift across the floorboards, nudging the living to notice, to feel, to create. Whether one believes in ghosts or sees the occurrences as the natural residue of history, the cafe's atmosphere is unmistakably charged. Vesuvio is not simply a destination. It is a crossroads of past and present, life and lingering inspiration, where the restless spirits of literary icons continue to chase the muse that first brought them there decades ago. The Trappist in Oakland is a bar that draws visitors with its warm, inviting ambience, Belgian-style beers, and carefully curated selections of artisanal brews. Its wood-paneled walls, intimate lighting, and long-polished bar create a sense of comfort that makes it a favorite among locals and travelers alike. Yet beneath the welcoming exterior lies a presence that has unsettled staff and patrons for years. While the bar thrives on laughter, conversation, and the clinking of glasses, it also harbors stories of shadowy figures, whispered prayers, and unexplained sensations that hint at something far older and darker than the ordinary social life of a pub. The most unsettling activity is said to occur in the bar's cellar, a narrow, dimly lit space used primarily for storage and inventory. Staff members, particularly those working late shifts, have reported the feeling of being watched while down there. Some refuse to enter the cellar alone, citing the sense of a lurking presence that seems almost tangible. Bartenders have described shadows shifting in corners where no light reaches. The shape of a man, tall and indistinct, watching silently as they move among crates and bottles. Despite careful inspection, the cellar always appears empty, yet the unease persists, growing heavier with each passing moment. Guests occasionally experience the bar's supernatural activity in more subtle ways. Many report hearing faint murmurs or whispers that seem to come from nowhere, often in languages that are unfamiliar. Some have identified the sounds as prayers or chants, whispered in tones that suggest devotion rather than menace. The voices are ephemeral, fading when one turns to seek their source, yet leaving behind a lingering sense of reverence and unease. The effect is disorienting, as if the past and present are overlapping, and the space is not solely occupied by the living. Objects in the bar sometimes betray signs of invisible movement. Bottles may shift slightly on shelves, or glasses slide along the bar as if nudged by unseen hands. These incidents are usually subtle, easily dismissed at first, but their frequency and pattern make them difficult to ignore. Staff members who have worked at the Trappist for years insist that these movements are intentional, a quiet demonstration of presence rather than randomness. They describe a rhythm to the occurrences, moments when the energy feels more active, as if responding to human attention or interaction. The history of the building itself may help explain the unsettling atmosphere. While the current bar operates as a Belgian-style pub, the structure has existed for decades, long before it became the Trappist. Past occupants and activities may have left traces of emotional energy embedded in the architecture and the very walls. In spaces like the cellar, which see less light, less foot traffic, and fewer interruptions, those energies may linger more strongly. The combination of historical weight and human emotion can create conditions in which the presence manifests in audible whispers, cold spots, and fleeting shadows. Staff members frequently recount experiences that defy conventional explanation. One bartender described retrieving kegs late one evening, when he felt a sudden chill along his neck, as if someone had walked closely behind him. When he turned, there was no one there, yet the sense of a presence remained. Another reported the sound of footsteps pacing the edges of the cellar, deliberate and rhythmic, stopping whenever he paused to listen more intently. Even when multiple staffs are present, these phenomena can occur, suggesting that the presence does not operate solely on opportunity or isolation. It seems aware, persistent, and engaged with the space itself. Occasionally, patrons encounter something they cannot explain. Some describe the sensation of being observed from the corners of dimly lit rooms, shadows moving just beyond the line of sight. Others have heard the faint whispers while seated at the bar, voices that seem to circle the room before fading. These experiences, while brief, are vivid enough to leave a lasting impression. For some, the occurrences are thrilling, a mysterious undercurrent to an otherwise enjoyable night. For others, they are deeply unnerving, a reminder that the building carries secrets older than any of the current patrons or staff. Despite, or perhaps because of these reports, the Trappist continues to operate as a lively gathering place. Its reputation for excellent Belgian-style beers and a cozy, welcoming atmosphere draws a steady stream of visitors. Those who are aware of the bar's supernatural reputation often watch for signs of activity, curious to see if the whispers, shadows, or cold spots will manifest during their visit. Even skeptics sometimes feel a subtle shift in the air, a prickling along the skin, or the uncanny sense of being watched, hinting at a layer of reality beyond the ordinary. The cellar remains the most consistent focal point for activity. Staff have developed informal rituals to cope with the unease, such as ensuring that two people enter together, keeping a light on, or speaking quietly to acknowledge the presence. These small measures seem to help, though they rarely prevent the sensation entirely. In this way, the cellar becomes a space of both mystery and respect, a reminder that the energy lingering there is part of the bar's identity, a hidden character in its ongoing story. The Trappist's haunted reputation is inseparable from its charm. Patrons come for the warmth of the bar, the carefully curated beers, and the friendly atmosphere. But the presence that lingers adds a dimension of intrigue. The whispering voices, moving glasses, and shadows in the corners create a sense of living history, a connection to something unseen yet palpable. The bar is more than a venue for socializing. It is a place where the past reaches forward, where the energy of prior occupants, intentions, and emotions can intersect with the present in ways that defy easy explanation. Whether it is the shadowy man in the cellar, the faint prayers whispered in unknown tongues, or the subtle movements of objects and furniture, the Trappist maintains an atmosphere that is equal parts welcoming and uncanny. Patrons may arrive seeking beer and conversation, but they leave with a lingering sense that the bar has its own consciousness, a spirit that watches, listens, and interacts in ways that are subtle, inscrutable, and unforgettable. In this way, the Trappist is more than a barrack, is a living monument to the unseen, a place where history, memory, and the spectral intersect. Café du Nord, tucked beneath the Swedish-American Hall in San Francisco, is a venue that pulses with history, music, and an air of mystery. By day, it appears as a lively bar, welcoming patrons with its low ceilings, exposed brick, and vintage. By night, it transforms into a celebrated music venue, where the sounds of guitars, drums, and soulful voices fill the room. Yet beyond the stage lights and the clinking of glasses, the venue carries stories of the unexplained. Countless reports over the years suggest that beneath the building, in its darkened corridors and shadowed corners, something lingers, a presence that is both elusive and unsettling. Musicians who perform at Café du Nord often speak of unusual occurrences that defy explanation. Some describe the sensation of being watched from empty seats, as if unseen eyes follow their every movement across the stage. Others report seeing figures among the audience, fleeting shapes that move in the dim light yet vanish when directly observed. These apparitions are rarely solid or detailed. They are often shadows, indistinct and ghost-like, yet their presence is undeniable. For performers, the feeling is unnerving, a subtle tension that adds a layer of intensity to their sets. The cold winds that sweep through the underground passages are another source of eerie activity. Visitors often feel sudden drops in temperature in specific areas of the venue, most commonly near the back of the bar or along the stairways leading to the stage. Bartenders and staff describe these chills as sharp and sudden, sometimes brushing against the skin like a whisper of cold air in an otherwise warm room. Patrons have recounted feeling an invisible hand or light pressure on their shoulders as they navigate these spaces, always leaving them with a sense that they are not alone. The architecture of Café du Nord contributes to its unsettling atmosphere. The bar is built into the lower levels of the Swedish-American Hall, with narrow hallways, brick-lined corridors, and hidden alcoves that echo every sound. These passages, once used for storage and private gatherings, now amplify the sensation of movement and presence. Footsteps are occasionally heard, echoing where no one has walked. Doors creak open and shut without cause, and objects on shelves sometimes shift inexplicably. Staff have learned to anticipate these occurrences, though they remain wary of entering the darker corners of the venue alone. Some of the most vivid accounts come from musicians and performers who spend long hours in the space. One guitarist reported that during a late-night sound check, he glimpsed a figure standing near the rear exit, just beyond the stage lights. When he blinked, it was gone, leaving only the lingering sense of a presence that had been observing him. Another singer described hearing faint applause and whispers from the audience when the room was empty, voices that seemed to float on the air like remnants of past performances. These experiences, repeated over decades, have created a strong belief among the staff that Café du Nord is haunted not by malevolent spirits, but by echoes of the past those who loved music and the energy of the hall, unwilling to leave entirely. Cold spots are particularly common around the backstage areas. Musicians setting up for shows sometimes report stepping into sudden pockets of icy air, a stark contrast to the otherwise warm environment of the bar. Some have felt brushes of movement along their arms or legs, as if a presence is moving past or inspecting them. Despite these chilling encounters, many performers describe an almost inspiring quality to the sensation, as though the spirits are guiding them, encouraging their performance rather than obstructing it. The venue's history offers context to these hauntings. Since its opening, the Swedish-American Hall and Café du Nord have been a hub for music, social gatherings, and political meetings. Countless people have passed through its doors, leaving behind energy and memories that seem to seep into the very walls. From joyous celebrations to late-night performances that carried the raw intensity of creative expression, the building has been a witness to decades of human emotion, both light and dark. Some believe that this concentration of energy, especially in such a contained space, is what allows spirits to remain tethered to the venue. Many patrons experience subtle manifestations as well. Drinks may feel colder than expected, shadows appear at the edge of their vision, or music seems to carry an unexpected resonance, echoing through the hall in ways that defy acoustics. Guests often report a heightened sense of awareness in the back of the room or along the staircases, a feeling that they are being observed by more than the crowd of other patrons. For those attuned to the history and energy of the place, these moments are both thrilling and unsettling, a reminder that Café du Nord is not just a bar or music venue, but a repository of experience that transcends the living. Despite, or perhaps because of these ghostly tales, Café du Nord remains a beloved and celebrated space. Its reputation as a haunted venue only adds to its mystique, attracting curious visitors and performers eager to glimpse the unseen. For those who spend long nights within its walls, the echoes of the past are palpable. The shadowy figures in the audience, the whispered notes of music that seem to float from empty rooms, and the sudden chills that remind all who enter that history lingers here in an intimate, sometimes disconcerting way. In the end, Café du Nord is a venue where the boundaries between past and present, the living and the departed, blur. Patrons come for music, drinks, and atmosphere, but those who remain into the quiet hours may encounter the whispers, shadows, and chills that hint at a deeper story. The restless energy of the hall, carried by the spirits of musicians, patrons, and revelers long gone, gives the venue a vitality that is both inspiring and unnerving. In this subterranean space beneath the Swedish-American Hall, the past is never far away, and the music never truly dies. The Old Ship Saloon in San Francisco is a bar like no other, built atop the remains of a long-sunken ship. Its timbers rumored to still echo the lives and tragedies of those who perished at sea. From the moment patrons step inside, the atmosphere is charged with history. The scent of aged wood and salt hangs in the air, blending seamlessly with the aroma of spilled beer and aged spirits. The walls, adorned with maritime memorabilia, lanterns, and nautical trinkets, serve as reminders that this is more than a simple drinking establishment. It is a vessel of memory, steeped in stories both lively and dark. Yet beneath its lively exterior lies an undercurrent of the unexplained, a presence that has left many shaken, intrigued, or both. Many visitors report hearing disembodied voices, particularly late at night when the bar has quieted down. These are not random murmurs, but the echoes of sailors long gone, calling out as if trapped between worlds. Patrons have claimed to hear names being shouted, commands barked, and conversations in languages now foreign to modern ears. The sounds are often faint, drifting in from the corners of the room, but unmistakably human in cadence and tone. Those who pause to listen describe a chilling clarity, as though the voices are just out of reach, resonating from the sunken ship beneath the establishment. Some of the most unnerving experiences involve the feeling of unseen hands. Guests often speak of subtle pushes or brushes that guide them along the narrow aisles, toward the exit, or away from certain corners of the bar. The sensation is light but deliberate, leaving a lingering awareness that they are not alone. Staff members working late have reported similar encounters, feeling nudges or sudden chills that seem to accompany movement through the main room and the back hallways. These experiences are frequent enough to have become part of the lore of the Old Ship Saloon, and yet they remain unpredictable, an invisible force interacting with the living. A particularly striking legend surrounds the Phantom Captain, said to appear near closing time. Dressed in a weathered coat and tricorn hat, he is described as a figure of authority, moving with purpose along the bar or standing near the doorway, as if ensuring the ship's rules are upheld. Some patrons claim to have locked eyes with him, only to find that he disappears when approached, leaving behind the faint smell of salt water and tobacco. Bartenders often finish their shifts with heightened awareness, glancing nervously toward empty chairs and shadowed corners, wary of the captain's spectral presence. It is said that the apparition is neither malevolent nor welcoming, but commanding, a reminder that the Old Ship Saloon is built upon a foundation of history that cannot be ignored. The structure itself contributes to the eerie ambience. Portions of the bar are built directly over the sunken ship's remains, and the timbers underneath are said to creak and groan in ways that defy explanation. Patrons sometimes hear footsteps echoing below them, accompanied by the faint scent of brine. Even when no basement or cellar access exists, the bar's uneven floors, low ceilings, and shadowed alcoves make the space feel alive, as though the building itself is breathing, reacting to the presence of visitors. This combination of history, architecture, and residual energy creates an environment where the line between the natural and the supernatural feels remarkably thin. Other paranormal phenomena reported include sudden drops in temperature, objects shifting mysteriously, and the occasional flicker of lanterns or lights. Glasses have been known to slide across the bar without cause, and chairs sometimes move slightly when no one is nearby. Staff attributes some of this activity to the bar's natural settling, but the pattern and timing often suggest something else entirely. Regulars speak of nights when the energy is palpable, a restless stirring that seems to awaken as the evening progresses, intensifying near closing time when the Phantom Captain is said to appear. Guests occasionally report seeing fleeting shapes in the corners of their visions, silhouettes of sailors at work or figures moving across the room. These glimpses are brief, often gone when looked at directly, yet they leave a lasting impression. Patrons describe a sense of presence, an awareness of unseen eyes, watching or guiding them through the space. Even those who are skeptical find themselves pausing at certain points, hesitant to cross thresholds or linger near the back hallway, as if instinctively recognizing a boundary between the living and the lingering dead. The lore of the old ship saloon is reinforced by its long history. Built over a harbor site where many ships once anchored and directly atop the remains of a sunken vessel, it has been a witness to decades of maritime life, human endeavor, and tragedy. Sailors, dockworkers, and travelers have all passed through its doors, leaving behind memories and emotional energy that some believe still resonates within the building. This concentration of intense human experience, coupled with the dramatic history of the ship beneath, may explain the persistent activity that visitors report to this day. Despite the eerie occurrences, the old ship saloon remains a beloved destination. Patrons are drawn to its rich history, nautical charm, and lively atmosphere, and many find the paranormal stories to be an added intrigue rather than a deterrent. The whispers of long-dead sailors, the chilling nudges, and the commanding presence of the phantom captain give the bar a depth and mystique unlike any other establishment. In the end, the old ship saloon is a place where history and legend collide, where the echoes of lives long past ripple through the present. Patrons and staff alike become part of a continuum, sharing the space with spirits who are tethered to the ship beneath. The bar is alive not only with music and conversation, but with the unseen energies of the past. A place where the living brush shoulders with the departed and the story of the sunken ship continues to unfold, one haunting night at a time. Tom Bergen's in Los Angeles is more than a pub. It is a landmark of history, laughter, and sometimes lingering sorrow. Established in the heart of the city decades ago, this legendary Irish bar has served generations of patrons, offering hearty meals, frothy pints, and the warmth of a community gathering place. Its low ceilings, dark wood furnishings, and cozy fireplace create an inviting atmosphere, one that makes visitors feel immediately at home. Yet beneath the jovial exterior, Tom Bergen's carries a reputation that hints at the uncanny, a quiet, spectral presence that has been reported by staff and patrons alike. The stories begin with the bar itself, a space filled with centuries of conversation, clinking glasses, and the rhythmic hum of life. Bartenders have often noticed chairs moving slightly, as if someone invisible has been adjusting them. These movements are subtle, almost polite, but unmistakable. A stool that was once neatly tucked under the bar might be found slightly out of place, or a chair near the fireplace nudged just so. Those who witness these incidents often describe a faint sense of awareness, as if the room itself is alive and observing, reacting to the presence of those within it. The fireplace is another focal point for the unexplained. Patrons seated nearby sometimes report feeling a sudden chill, a stark contrast to the warmth radiating from the hearth. Shadows occasionally shift in the corners of the room, taking the form of human figures standing quietly, their features indistinct but their presence undeniable. Some guests have claimed to see these apparitions linger near the flames, observing conversations or sipping from invisible glasses, before disappearing without a trace. The effect is subtle yet haunting, leaving a lingering impression that the history of the pub is still very much alive. Staff members have recounted their own unsettling experiences. Bartenders working late shifts often speak of a sensation of being watched, particularly near the bar and the fireplace. Some describe feeling a brush along their back or shoulder when no one is nearby, accompanied by the faint scent of pipe smoke or old whiskey. Others have heard quiet footsteps echoing across the wooden floors, pacing in patterns that suggest intention. These occurrences, while rarely aggressive, are persistent enough to be part of the pub's accepted lore. Employees speak of them with a mix of reverence and caution, aware that Tom Bergen's holds both the living and the echoes of those who once walked its floors. Many believe that one of the primary spirits haunting the pub is that of a former owner, a man deeply invested in the success and character of his establishment. According to legend, he continues to survey the pub, ensuring that his beloved space maintains its warmth and charm. This presence is described as protective rather than menacing, a spectral caretaker who lingers out of devotion rather than malice. Patrons who are aware of this story often report feeling an odd sense of comfort when they sense the unseen gaze of the former owner, as if the bar itself is being watched over by someone who still cares. Other manifestations in the pub include subtle sounds and movements that defy explanation. Glasses occasionally clink together without being touched, and the faint echo of laughter can sometimes be heard drifting through the room when it is otherwise empty. Some guests report hearing whispered conversations, phrases that fade before they can be understood. These experiences add to the sense that Tom Bergen's is a place where time overlaps, where echoes of the past mingle with the present in a continuous, almost living dialogue. Regulars often become attuned to the pub's peculiar energy, learning to notice the subtle signs of spectral activity. A chair that seems slightly out of place, a shadow near the hearth, or a chill in the air is no longer alarming, but part of the atmosphere that makes the pub unique. New visitors, on the other hand, may find these phenomena disconcerting, their first encounters leaving them with a sense of awe or unease. For many, however, the blend of history, warmth, and the supernatural creates an unforgettable experience, one that transforms a simple night out into a brush with the past. The history of Tom Bergen's contributes to the persistent presence that inhabits its walls. Over the decades, the pub has seen countless moments of joy, heartbreak, and human connection. Weddings, celebrations, and quiet evenings of reflection have all left their mark on the space. Some believe that the intensity of these emotional imprints can anchor spirits, allowing them to remain in familiar and cherished places. In the case of Tom Bergen's, it seems that the echoes of loyalty, devotion, and love for the pub have created an enduring spiritual presence that continues to watch, adjust, and linger. Despite tour, perhaps because of its spectral resonance, Tom Bergen's remains a vibrant and beloved establishment. Patrons are drawn to its rich history, the warmth of its fireplace, and the charm of an Irish pub that has maintained its character across decades. The whispers, moving chairs, and fleeting shadows add to its mystique, creating a layer of intrigue that blends seamlessly with its convivial atmosphere. The haunting is not a deterrent, but a unique facet of the bar, reminding guests that they are participating in a story that extends far beyond their own evening. In the end, Tom Bergen's is a place where the living and the lingering past coexist, where every creaking floorboard, shifting chair, and flickering shadow is a testament to decades of human experience. Patrons come for good drinks, hearty food, and a welcoming environment, but they often leave with a sense of having witnessed something timeless, a connection to the spirits of the pub's history, quietly observing, subtly guiding, and ensuring that the legacy of Tom Bergen's continues to thrive, both in life and beyond. Tiki T in Los Angeles is a small, colorful bar that bursts with energy, music, and tropical charm. Its walls are lined with bamboo, carved masks, and bright decorations that transport visitors to an exotic paradise, far from the hustle of the city outside. Patrons come for the strong cocktails, playful atmosphere, and friendly chatter, but beneath the vibrant veneer, Tiki T holds a secret world of unexplained activity. For decades, both staff and guests have reported experiences that hint at the presence of spirits lingering among the bar's colorful bottles and tiki carvings. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves glasses that move or clink without explanation. Patrons sitting at the bar often feel the faint vibration of a drink shifting slightly, or they hear the sharp sound of glass touching glass when no one is nearby. At first, these occurrences seem like simple accidents, perhaps a misplaced coaster or an uneven surface. But the consistency of the events, especially during late-night hours when the bar is quiet, has led many to believe that something unseen is interacting with the environment. Guests describe the sensation as both startling and oddly playful, as if the unseen presence enjoys joining in the nightly festivities. Phantom footsteps are another unsettling feature of Tiki. Visitors walking through the bar sometimes hear the sound of someone following behind, the soft tap of shoes against the floor. When they turn, however, no one is there. These footsteps often echo down the aisles between tables, near the bamboo walls, or along the narrow pathways behind the bar. Staff members, especially those working late shifts, have reported sensing someone walking just behind them, only to find that the space is completely empty. The presence is fleeting but persistent, creating an undercurrent of tension that lingers even as patrons focus on the lively music and vibrant. Perhaps the most intriguing accounts involve a ghostly bartender. Employees whisper of a figure who occasionally appears behind the bar, pouring drinks with meticulous precision, only for those drinks to vanish before they can be touched or consumed. The apparition is described as vaguely human, with movements precise and deliberate, as if performing a task perfected over years of practice. Bartenders often encounter this ghost during slow hours, and while it does not speak or interact directly with the living, its presence is unmistakable. Cups and glasses seem to be filled and set down by invisible hands, leaving staff with a combination of awe and unease. The energy at Tiki is most noticeable during the quieter hours, often in the late evening or early morning, while the bar is alive during peak times, bustling with laughter, music, and conversation. The supernatural presence becomes more perceptible when the noise fades. Shadows move slightly out of the corner of the eye, glasses clinked with no explanation, and the faint feeling of being observed permeates the space. Those attuned to the atmosphere describe it as playful rather than threatening, a reminder that the history and energy of the bar are as present as the living patrons themselves. The bar's history may help explain the haunting. Tiki has been operating for decades, a beloved institution in Los Angeles with a devoted following. Countless bartenders, performers, and patrons have passed through its doors, leaving traces of their lives in the building. Emotional energy, whether from joy, tension, or creative expression, is often believed to linger in spaces long after the living have departed. At Tiki, this residual energy seems to manifest in physical ways, blending seamlessly with the bar's vibrant environment and adding a mysterious dimension to the experience. Patrons who are aware of the supernatural lore often report subtle changes in their perception. Drinks may taste slightly different, shadows seem to flicker in unusual ways, and the faint sounds of footsteps or glass clinking create a sense of anticipation. Some visitors find the experience thrilling, a chance to feel connected to something beyond the ordinary. Others are unnerved, sensing the weight of the unseen presence as they navigate the narrow aisles and bamboo-lined corners. Regardless of their reaction, almost everyone leaves with a sense that Tiki is more than a bar. It is a place where the living and the unseen coexist. Staff members have developed informal ways of acknowledging the spirits. Some leave a glass or a small offering on the bar, while others speak softly as they move through the space. A quiet recognition of the ghostly bartender and other unseen guests. These small rituals are said to keep the presence playful rather than disruptive, maintaining a balance that allows the bar to operate normally while honoring the lingering energy that has become part of its identity. Even the most skeptical visitors are occasionally caught off guard. A sudden clink of glass, a cold draft, or the sensation of being followed can provoke a shiver, a reminder that the bar is alive with more than just human energy. Over time, these experiences become part of the lore, shared among patrons and staff as stories of the living interacting with the remnants of the past. The presence is subtle, rarely aggressive, but unmistakably playful, lingering spirit that blends seamlessly into the vibrant world of Tiki. In the end, Tiki is a bar where history, joy, and the supernatural intertwine. Patrons come for drinks, conversation, and entertainment. Yet they often leave with an awareness of the unseen world just beyond their sight. Glasses move, footsteps echo, and a ghostly bartender performs unseen tasks, reminding visitors that Tiki is more than a venue. It is a space where the past lives alongside the present. Playful spirits join in the festivities, and the energy of decades past continues to infuse the bar with life, laughter, and mystery. The Saloon in San Francisco is a bar steeped in history. Its worn wooden floors and dimly lit interior carrying the weight of centuries. Established in the mid-19th century, it has earned a reputation not just for its long lineage, but for the tragic and mysterious events that have unfolded within its walls. Surviving earthquakes, fires, and the tumult of a growing city, the saloon has witnessed the lives of countless patrons, their laughter and sorrow leaving a subtle yet persistent mark on the space. To this day, both staff and visitors speak of experiences that defy explanation, suggesting that the past continues to linger in the present. From the moment one enters the saloon, there is a palpable sense of history. The bar is a low-ceilinged, narrow space, lined with aged wood and antique fixtures that have seen generations of drinkers pass through. The stage, which hosts live music, is the heart of the room, and even when empty, it radiates energy that seems to echo performances of decades past. It is on this stage and throughout the bar that the paranormal phenomena are most frequently reported. Patrons who take photos of themselves or friends often find dark, human-like shapes lingering in the background, shapes that vanish when the photo is retaken. These shadows are never fully solid. They appear as blurred outlines, suggesting the form of a person who is simultaneously present and not. Staff members say this has been happening for decades, and while the apparitions are rarely threatening, their presence is unmistakable, a silent witness to the ongoing life of the saloon. Another phenomenon occurs in the form of ghostly music, even when the stage is empty and instruments are silent. Some visitors report hearing faint strains of old tunes, piano keys, guitar chords, or the hum of a fiddle that seem to drift through the room. The music is subtle, sometimes only a whisper at the edge of hearing, yet unmistakably melodic. Patrons have described the sensation as both beautiful and eerie, as if the sounds carry the voices of those who once gathered, danced, and drank in the very space they now occupy. Staff members have their own accounts of unusual activity. Glasses sometimes shift on the bar without being touched. Chairs move slightly, as if nudged by unseen hands. And the occasional cold draft sweeps through the room despite the warm, enclosed interior. Bartenders have reported feeling a brush along their backs, the sensation of being observed while performing their duties, and fleeting glimpses of figures at the edges of their vision. These experiences are so common that long-term employees consider them part of the saloon's character, an invisible layer of life woven into the wood and stone of the building. The stage itself is a particular hotspot for paranormal activity. Musicians, setting up for evening performances, sometimes hear footsteps or murmured conversation when the room is empty. A piano might play a single, deliberate note without being touched, or the faint rhythm of a drum can be heard echoing from the floorboards. Some performers interpret this as the lingering joy of 19th century patrons reliving their nights of debauchery. A playful, almost theatrical energy that refuses to leave the space entirely. The saloon's history is central to understanding these phenomena. As the oldest bar in the city, it has weathered earthquakes, fires, and social upheaval, each event leaving its mark on the building and the people who frequented it. Tales of tragedy, from patrons lost in disasters to the rough-and-tumble life of the gold rush era, have created a rich tapestry of emotional energy that seems to linger in the bar's corners and crevices. The spirits that remain are said to be tied to these experiences, trapped in a cycle of memory, pleasure, and sorrow that plays out long after their mortal lives have ended. Patrons often experience subtle signs of this lingering presence. Glasses may feel heavier or colder than expected. Shadows seem to flit along walls, and the faint hum of music or laughter can be perceived even in the absence of a performance. Guests who are attuned to the bar's history may sense a palpable shift in atmosphere, an unspoken awareness that they are sharing the space with those who came before. For some, this is thrilling, a connection to history that is immediate and almost tangible. For others, it is unsettling. Staff members have developed a cautious respect for the bar's spectral residents. Many avoid certain corners late at night, particularly near the stage or by the back tables, where activity seems most concentrated. Some leave small tokens of acknowledgement, such as a glass of water or a quiet word, as if honoring the spirits that have become part of the saloon's identity. These small gestures are said to help maintain a balance, ensuring that the energy remains playful rather than disruptive. The spy tour, perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the saloon continues to thrive. Patrons are drawn not only to its history and music, but to the sense that they are participating in something larger than themselves. The shadows, ghostly music, and fleeting touches of unseen hands are reminders that the bar is alive with more than human energy, a living monument to the city's past and the souls who shaped it. In the end, the saloon is a place where history and the supernatural coexist. Patrons come for drinks, conversation, and music, but they leave with the sense that they have glimpsed a layer of time that exists beyond the present. Shadows linger, music plays without instruments, and spirits of 19th century patrons continue to relive their revelries, ensuring that the oldest bar in San Francisco is not just a place of celebration, but a living link to the city's past and the lives that once filled it. The Purple Orchid in El Segundo is a tiki dive bar with a colorful reputation, known for its strong cocktails, tropical and lively atmosphere. Neon lights flicker along the walls, bamboo accents frame the bar, and the smell of spiced rum mixes with the faint scent of salt air, evoking the feel of a distant island paradise. Yet beneath the cheerful exterior and the upbeat music, the bar carries a darker, more mysterious energy. Over the years, both staff and patrons have reported experiences that hint at a presence that refuses to remain unseen, a ghostly figure whose influence lingers among the tiki carvings and bottles of rum. One of the most common phenomena at the Purple Orchid involves icy chills that seem to appear without explanation. Patrons often describe moments when a sudden cold sweeps through their body, even in the middle of a warm room. It might brush along the back of a chair, drift across the bar, or sweep through the center of the dance floor. Staff have learned to anticipate these occurrences, especially late at night or during quieter hours. And some have described the chills as having an almost sentient quality, brushing against them as though the air itself were alive. Guests frequently comment on the unnerving sensation, a fleeting awareness that something beyond the ordinary is moving among them. Strange flickering lights are another recurring phenomenon. The neon signs and tiki lanterns often blink irregularly, as if responding to unseen hands. Patrons have reported seeing lights flare brighter in isolated corners before dimming again, sometimes casting long, distorted shadows across the room. These lights often appear in areas that are unoccupied, and while electrical malfunctions are sometimes suggested, the pattern and timing of the flickering seem far too deliberate to be coincidental. Those who notice it describe a sense of presence, a subtle hint that the Purple Orchid is more than just a barit, is a place where history, energy, and the unexplained converge. Perhaps the most intriguing reports involve the jukebox. Located in a corner of the bar, the jukebox is a centerpiece of the Purple Orchid's lively atmosphere, allowing patrons to select music that fuels the dance floor and social energy. Yet staff and visitors alike have described moments when the jukebox plays songs that nobody requested. The selection often shifts abruptly, the music changing without warning, and when someone approaches to investigate, the machine behaves as if no one had touched it. Some believe this is the work of a ghostly figure who lingers near the jukebox, selecting songs as if curating the mood of the room from beyond the living world. Regulars have grown used to it, accepting that the bar's unseen guest has its own musical tastes. Employees working late shifts report additional activity, including glasses shifting slightly on the bar, faint footsteps echoing through empty spaces, and the occasional sense of being observed. Some have glimpsed a figure near the jukebox, a shadowy presence, indistinct but clearly humanoid, moving with purpose yet vanishing when looked at directly. Patrons often sense a similar presence in passing, a brush of air against the arm, a glance at a flickering shadow, or a sudden shift in temperature that sends a shiver down the spine. The experiences are subtle but persistent, creating an undercurrent of tension and curiosity that makes the Purple Orchid a unique and memorable destination. The origins of the haunting are a matter of speculation. Some suggest it is the spirit of a former employee or a devoted regular, someone who loved the bar and continues to watch over it in death. Others believe the lingering energy stems from the decades of human activity, the laughter, dancing, and revelry, leaving an imprint that refuses to fade. Regardless of the source, the presence is generally considered benign, a playful and sometimes mischievous force that interacts with the living in ways that are startling, entertaining, or mysterious. Patrons often notice subtle signs of this lingering presence. Drinks may feel colder than expected, shadows stretch in unusual ways, and music occasionally shifts in pitch or rhythm without any mechanical cause. Some guests interpret these phenomena as a connection to the past, a reminder that the bar has been a gathering place for generations, and that those who loved it may not be entirely gone. For regular visitors, the experiences become part of the charm, a reminder that the Purple Orchid exists in a space that bridges the ordinary and the extraordinary. Staff members have developed informal ways to coexist with the supernatural. Some leave a glass on the jukebox or quietly acknowledge the figure with a nod or greeting, a subtle respect that seems to keep the interactions calm and playful. Others simply carry on their duties, while aware that they share the space with a presence that is neither threatening nor intrusive. A benign ghost who has chosen to remain among the vibrant life of the bar. Even for the uninitiated, the Purple Orchid leaves a lasting impression. The combination of flickering lights, icy chills, and the occasional unrequested song creates an atmosphere that is both fun and eerie, inviting patrons to enjoy the bar while remaining subtly aware that they are not alone. Visitors often leave with stories to tell, recounting moments when the mundane and the paranormal intersected in fleeting, unforgettable ways. In the end, the Purple Orchid is more than a tiki dive bar. It is a place where energy, history, and mystery collide. Patrons come for cocktails and conversation, but they leave with a sense that something unseen still roams the corners of the room, selecting songs, sending chills, and ensuring that the spirit of the bar, both lively and spectral, remains ever present. The ghostly presence near the jukebox, the flickering lights, and the icy drafts are reminders that at the Purple Orchid, the line between the living and the unseen is delightfully thin, and the bar's stories continue to unfold, one mysterious night at a time. The San Francisco Brewing Company is a bustling destination today, known for its craft beers, lively atmosphere, and historic charm. Housed in a centuries-old brick building, the brewery carries with it the weight of time, its walls echoing both joyous celebrations and untold tragedies. Patrons flock to the location for pints of rich ales, hearty conversations, and the warm, rustic ambience of exposed beams and aged brickwork. Yet beneath the inviting atmosphere lies a shadowed history, a series of unexplained occurrences that have intrigued and unsettled visitors and employees alike for decades. The building itself has long been steeped in mystery. Constructed in the late 19th century, it has survived fires, earthquakes, and the slow evolution of the surrounding city. Many of the original architectural elements remain: heavy wooden floors, iron support beams, and brick-lined rooms that feel almost frozen in time. These spaces, while beautiful, have a reputation for harboring unseen energy. Locked rooms, in particular, are a frequent source of strange phenomena. Staff members report hearing loud banging noises emanating from these areas when no one is present. The sounds are often rhythmic, almost deliberate, and they echo throughout the brewery in ways that make them impossible to ignore. Even when doors are bolted and windows secured, the banging continues, sometimes for hours at a stretch, leaving workers to wonder who, or what is on the other side. Employees have also recounted experiences that suggest the presence of invisible hands. Many describe feeling sudden tugs on clothing as they move through the brewery, particularly in narrow hallways and near the old fermentation rooms. Coats, aprons, and even loose sleeves seem to catch on something unseen, pulling with enough force to startle. Some workers report a sense of being followed, a lingering sensation that someone is walking just behind them, though, when they turn, the space is empty. These tactile experiences, subtle yet unmistakable, contribute to the growing belief that the brewery is more than just a historic building. It is a place where the past refuses to remain silent. Perhaps the most compelling stories involve a ghostly brewer. Patrons and employees alike have reported sightings of a figure dressed in traditional brewing attire, moving quietly among the barrels in the storage areas. This apparition is often described as meticulously tending to phantom casks, lifting invisible tools, and inspecting bottles with a practiced eye. When approached, the figure fades or vanishes, leaving behind only the faint scent of malt and hops, as though the ghostly brewer is tied not just to the building, but to the craft itself. Witnesses often describe a sense of respect mixed with unease, an acknowledgement that the spirit is diligently continuing work interrupted long ago. The unexplained sounds of clanging and banging, combined with the tactile sensations and spectral sightings, create an atmosphere of constant awareness for those working late or visiting during quieter hours. Staff members have shared that even the most skeptical newcomers find themselves pausing in hallways, glancing at empty rooms. Regular employees have grown accustomed to these occurrences, treating them almost as part of the job. Yet they never fully lose the thrill and the chill of the unknown. Visitors occasionally experience more subtle manifestations of the brewery's haunted energy. Glasses may rattle slightly when placed on a table. The scent of brewing hops appears unexpectedly in areas where no brewing is taking place. And shadows sometimes flicker against brick walls without apparent source. During tours or tastings, patrons may notice these phenomena, often attributing them to imagination or old construction. Yet, when multiple witnesses report the same unusual events, the sense of something otherworldly becomes undeniable. The brewery's history offers clues as to the source of the haunting. Over the decades, countless brewers, workers, and patrons have passed through the doors, many dedicating their lives to the craft. Some met untimely deaths, others disappeared without explanation, and the building itself has been a silent witness to labor, joy, and occasional sorrow. It is believed that the intensity of these emotional experiences has left residual energy, concentrated in the old rooms and storage areas, where the brewing process once dominated life. The ghostly brewer, in particular, may represent a spirit unwilling to leave the craft behind, anchored by decades of dedication and passion for the art of brewing. Employees have developed informal rituals to maintain harmony with the spectral presence. Some speak quietly as they move through the brewery, acknowledging the unseen forces. Others leave small gestures of respect, tapping a barrel, adjusting a tool, or quietly nodding to maintain a sense of balance. These acts are said to help keep the energy benign, allowing the brewery to function normally while honoring the lingering presence of the past. Despite her, perhaps because of its haunted reputation, the San Francisco Brewing Company continues to attract crowds. Patrons are drawn to its historic charm, rich beers, and the stories that accompany the building. For some, the idea of a ghostly brewer or the sounds of locked rooms adds a layer of intrigue, turning a simple visit into an experience that blends history, mystery, and the thrill of the unknown. The brewery's atmosphere is enhanced by these occurrences, reminding visitors that they are not simply enjoying a drink, they are stepping into a place where the past continues to live alongside the present. In the end, the San Francisco Brewing Company is more than a brewery. It is a space where history, craft, and the unexplained converge. Patrons come for the beers and camaraderie, but they leave with the sense that the building itself is alive with memories, echoes, and the spirit of a dedicated brewer who tends to his phantom barrels with diligence. The locked rooms, the invisible hands, and the ghostly presence serve as a reminder that in certain places, the line between the living and the departed is remarkably thin, and the history of a place is never truly left behind. King Eddie's Saloon in Los Angeles stands as a relic of the city's storied past, a bar whose walls have witnessed decades of revelry, hardship, and intrigue. Once a lively speakeasy tucked into the heart of Skid Row, the saloon retains a rough-edged charm that hints at the clandestine gatherings and hidden dramas of another era. Today, it draws locals and tourists alike, eager for its hearty drinks, lively music, and the sense of stepping back into a time when the city's underbelly pulsed with energy. Yet beneath the laughter and clinking glasses lies a layer of history that refuses to rest quietly. King Eddie's is a place haunted by memory, where spirits seem unwilling to leave the site of so many stories, and where patrons and staff alike have experienced phenomena that defy explanation. One of the most commonly reported features of King Eddie's saloon is the presence of muffled voices emanating from the basement. Though the doors are often locked and the space below is seldom visited, bartenders and patrons occasionally hear the faint murmur of conversation, the soft cadence of laughter, or even arguments, as though the spirits of former patrons are replaying moments from decades past. The voices are never coherent enough to fully understand, but they are persistent, filling the air with a tension that is equal parts eerie and fascinating. Some guests describe feeling a shiver run down their spine when the sounds arise, while staff have recounted pausing listening intently to the unseen drama unfolding below them. Equally compelling are the sightings of a man in a fedora. Patrons seated near the bar or by the entryway sometimes catch a glimpse of a sharply dressed figure, often described as a silhouette or shadow, moving confidently through the room. The figure pauses, glances toward those watching, and then simply vanishes into thin air, leaving behind only the faint scent of tobacco smoke and a lingering feeling of being observed. Witnesses often describe a mixture of fear and fascination, sensing that the man is tied to the saloon's pasta figure who frequented King Eddie's during its speakeasy days and is chosen to linger long after life passed him by. Staff members have also encountered inexplicable physical phenomena. Coins, often tarnished or old, are occasionally found on the bar, left in places where no customer could have placed them. Bartenders report picking up the coins with a mix of curiosity and unease, wondering whether the act is a simple prank, a coincidence, or something more supernatural. Combined with the muffled voices and phantom sightings, these small gestures contribute to a sense that the saloon is alive with unseen energy, a place where the past reaches forward to make its presence known in subtle, tangible ways. The atmosphere of King Eddie's is particularly charged during late hours, while the bar remains bustling during peak times, filled with music, laughter, and the warmth of human connection. The unexplained occurrences become more pronounced when the crowd thins. Shadows stretch oddly across the floor, footsteps echo from empty corners, and the sound of muted conversation from the basement seems closer, almost within earshot. Patrons often describe an uneasy fascination, feeling caught between the present and the echoes of history, as if the walls themselves are whispering secrets that cannot be fully comprehended. Some believe that the spirits are drawn to the saloon because of the intensity of emotion that once filled the space. Skid Row in the early 20th century was a place of struggle, secrecy, and fleeting joy, and the speakeasy provided a rare escape for those seeking temporary reprieve. The laughter, arguments, and intimate conversations left emotional imprints that some suggest have lingered, tied to the physical space where they occurred. The man in the fedora, the muffled voices, and the coins left on the bar may all be echoes of these moments, expressions of lives that were lived intensely and have not entirely let go of the world of the living. Visitors often notice subtle, inexplicable sensations throughout the saloon. A sudden chill, the fleeting feeling of being brushed past by unseen hands, or the distant scent of smoke or old whiskey can provoke both curiosity and unease. Regulars sometimes shrug off the occurrences as part of the bar's character, but newcomers often find the experiences haunting, adding a dimension of thrill and suspense to their evening. Many describe leaving the saloon with a heightened awareness of the space, the feeling that King Eddie's holds a secret life beyond what is visible. Bartenders have adapted to these spectral guests with a mix of respect and cautious humor. Some acknowledge the presence aloud, greeting the unseen with a nod or quiet word as they move through the bar. Others leave coins deliberately on the counter or near the bar's edges, a symbolic gesture of recognition, a way to honor those who may still linger. These practices, passed down among staff, are said to maintain a balance, ensuring that the saloon remains hospitable to both the living and the unseen. Despite its haunted reputation, King Eddie's Saloon thrives as a venue where history and the present coexist. Patrons come for the drinks, the music, and the atmosphere. But they often leave with stories to tell, accounts of voices from the basement, a man in a fedora who disappears in plain sight, and coins that appear without explanation. These experiences, while subtle, contribute to the saloon's allure, transforming a night out into a brush with the spectral remnants of Los Angeles' past. In the end, King Eddie's Saloon is more than just a bar. It is a living connection to a time when the city's fringes were wild, secretive, and full of energy. The muffled voices, the vanishing man, and the unexplained coins are reminders that the past is never entirely gone. Patrons come for the atmosphere and the drinks, but they leave with the awareness that the saloon holds stories, memories, and spirits that continue to linger, ensuring that King Eddie's remains a place where the living and the departed coexist in quiet, mysterious harmony. Heinold's First and Last Chance Saloon in Oakland is more than just a bar. It is a living piece of history, a crooked and charming establishment that has stood for over a century. The building itself leans noticeably, a lasting reminder of the 1906 earthquake that reshaped much of the Bay Area. Patrons often joke about the tilted floors, but for those attuned to the bar's more mysterious side, the crooked angle is part of an atmosphere steeped in stories of the past, stories that linger in the air like the faint smell of aged wood and spirits. The saloon is famous not only for its drinks and its historical significance, but for its reputation as a place where the boundary between the living and the supernatural grows thin. From the moment one steps inside, there is a sense that the saloon has retained echoes of all who have passed through its doors. Longtime patrons speak of the uncanny feeling of being watched, a sensation that is difficult to pinpoint, yet impossible to ignore. Some say it is most noticeable when the bar is quiet, late at night, or during the early morning hours, when only a few guests remain. The eyes that are felt are invisible, but their presence is undeniably silent acknowledgement that the saloon has been a witness to countless lives, and that those lives may not be entirely gone. The most commonly reported apparition at Heinold's is that of a phantom sailor. Descriptions vary slightly, but most accounts depict a man in traditional sailor's attire, leaning casually against the tilted bar. He seems comfortable, almost as if he belongs to the crooked space, and yet he disappears when approached or when anyone attempts to engage him. Patrons have reported seeing him in the corner of their vision while ordering drinks, standing near the shelves, or gazing out the windows at the Oakland waterfront. Witnesses often describe a mixture of curiosity and unease, sensing that the sailor is both a remnant of a bygone era and a sentinel watching over the saloon. Staff members are no strangers to the bar's unusual phenomena. Many have reported feeling a presence brushing past them as they move behind the bar, particularly in areas where the floor tilts sharply. Glasses may shift slightly, and sometimes a cold draft will sweep across the room, unexpected in a relatively warm, enclosed space. The combination of tactile experiences, the sensation of being watched, and occasional visual sightings of the sailor creates an environment where the past and present intermingle, leaving a lasting impression on anyone who spends time in the saloon. The history of Heinold's First and Last Chance Saloon helps explain the lingering energy, hosting generations of sailors, dock workers, and locals seeking a final drink before heading out to sea or returning home. The earthquake of 1906 left the building crooked but standing, and it is believed that the dramatic events of that time, combined with the intense human emotion generated in the saloon over decades, have left residual energy that continues to manifest today. The phantom sailor, some say, is a reflection of those who spent their lives tied to the waterfront, returning nightly to the bar that once welcomed them. Visitors often experience subtle signs of this haunting. Patrons may feel a light touch on the shoulder, hear the faint creak of footsteps on the tilted floor, or notice shadows that seem to move independently of the lighting. Some have even claimed to hear distant laughter or murmured conversation emanating from empty corners of the saloon, as if the spirits of long-departed sailors are quietly reliving their memories. Rather, they carry a sense of presence, a reminder that the saloon is alive with the memory of those who frequented it long ago. Staff members have developed ways to acknowledge the bar's spectral residents. Many speak softly while moving through the saloon, offering a quiet greeting or a nod to the unseen. Some leave small offerings or gestures of respect near the bar or along the shelves where the sailor is most often seen. These informal rituals seem to foster a harmonious coexistence, allowing the bar to operate normally while honoring the presence that has become part of its identity. The tilted floors themselves add an extra layer to the supernatural experience. The angle, while subtle, alters perception and can make visitors feel slightly off balance, enhancing the sensation that something is just beyond the visible. Shadows stretch and warp in ways that seem unnatural, and the creaking of the floorboards underfoot often sounds like whispered footsteps of invisible patrons. Combined with the stories of the phantom sailor and the feeling of being watched, the crooked nature of high notes contributes to an atmosphere that is both charming and unsettling. Patrons come for the drinks, the history, and the unique charm of a bar that has survived earthquakes and generations of change. Yet many leave with the lingering impression that they have glimpsed something beyond the ordinary. The phantom sailor, the watchful presence, and the subtle creaks of the crooked floor remind visitors that the saloon is more than a building. It is a repository of memory, emotion, and history that continues to inhabit the space, welcoming the living while honoring the departed. In the end, High Note's First and Last Chance Saloon is a place where history and the supernatural coexist seamlessly. The tilted floors, ghostly sailor, and persistent feeling of being watched serve as reminders that the bar as past is never truly gone. Patrons and staff alike are part of a continuum, experiencing the presence of those who came before, ensuring that the saloon remains a living link to Oakland's waterfront history and a place where the line between the living and the unseen is intriguingly thin. The Redwood Room, nestled within the historic Clift Hotel in San Francisco, is a bar of contrasts. Its sleek, polished interior evokes modern elegance, with gleaming wood panels, plush seating, and a sophisticated atmosphere that invites conversation and leisure. Yet beneath its stylish veneer lies an undercurrent of mystery, a subtle eeriness that has drawn both intrigue and unease from patrons over the years. The Redwood Room is not just a place to sip cocktails and enjoy live music. It is a space where the past seems to seep into the present, leaving traces of spectral energy that defy explanation. From the moment one enters, there is an immediate sense that the room holds more than meets the eye. Patrons often report a peculiar sensation, as if the air itself carries an intangible weight. Conversations occasionally feel interrupted by the faint hum of distant voices, though when attention is focused, no one else is there. Guests sometimes describe a chill that moves across the polished floor, as if something unseen has walked past moments before. These subtle experiences are enough to make even the most casual visitor glance toward the dark corners or the reflective surfaces, wondering what Torhu might be watching. One of the most unsettling features of the Redwood Room is its collection of paintings. The walls are adorned with portraits, landscapes, and abstract works, each chosen for its elegance and ability to complement the bar's sophisticated aesthetic. Yet, guests have long reported that these images are not as static as they appear. Expressions shift subtly. A smile fades, eyes seem to follow movement, or the mood of a figure changes when no one is looking directly. Staff members have heard patrons whispering about the paintings, debating whether it's a trick of the eye, the dim lighting, or something more supernatural. The phenomenon is never overtly threatening, but it adds to the pervasive sense that the room is alive with unseen energy. Adding to the room's haunting reputation are sightings of ghostly figures gliding across the floor. Patrons have described fleeting shapes, humanoid but indistinct, moving gracefully through the space. These apparitions often appear in peripheral vision, vanishing when one attempts to look directly at them. Witnesses report feeling watched, or that the figures are observing the patrons as much as the patrons are observing them. Some say the spirits are former guests of the Clift Hotel, lingering in a place that once offered comfort and leisure, unwilling to fully depart. Others suggest that the energy is tied to the artistic spirit of the room itself, a reflection of creativity, elegance, and human presence preserved in a spectral form. Bartenders and staff are no strangers to these phenomena. Many have reported sensations of being followed by invisible presences, especially when moving alone through the dimly lit corners or polishing the bar late at night. Glassware occasionally rattles without cause, and shadows sometimes stretch unnaturally across the floor, even when the lighting remains constant. Staff members have learned to respect these occurrences, treating them as a quiet presence rather than a threat. Longtime employees describe a subtle rhythm to the hauntings, as if the room itself sets the tempo for its invisible residents, maintaining a balance between the living and the unseen. The room's sleek design, while modern, does little to diminish the lingering history embedded within its walls. The Clift Hotel has hosted countless guests over the decades, each bringing their own stories, energy, and emotional residue. It is said that the Redwood Room has absorbed echoes of those past interactions, the laughter of social gatherings, the hushed tones of intimate conversations, and the occasional sorrow of fleeting moments gone unremarked. These residual energies are subtle but persistent, manifesting as fleeting sensations, visual anomalies, or the impression that someone or something is sharing the space with the living. Guests often experience moments of disorientation or wonder while visiting the Redwood Room. A sudden cold spot may move across a group, or a reflection in a polished surface may reveal movement that does not belong to any living person. The paintings seem to watch quietly, and the ghostly figures glide with an elegance that mirrors the room's aesthetic. Even those who enter without knowledge of the bar's haunted reputation often leave with stories to tell, noting fleeting glimpses of the unexplained and the unshakable sense that the space is more than it seems. The hauntings, while subtle, are consistent enough to become part of the room's identity. Patrons often come back, not only for the cocktails or the ambience, but for the thrill of experiencing a space where history and the supernatural converge. Regular visitors may begin to notice patterns, certain corners that feel heavier with energy, moments when the paintings appear to shift, or the ghostly gliding of a figure that seems to appear at the same time each evening. These experiences are rarely frightening. Instead, they evoke fascination and a sense of connection to the past. Staff members have developed informal ways to coexist with the unseen. A polite nod toward a corner where a ghostly figure appeared, or quiet acknowledgement of the shifting paintings, is often enough to maintain harmony. Guests, too, are encouraged to enjoy the ambience, while remaining observant, appreciating the unique atmosphere that blends elegance with mystery. In this way, the Redwood Room remains a living space, accommodating both the energy of the present and the lingering echoes of the past. In the end, the Redwood Room at the Clift Hotel is more than a bar. It is a place where history, art, and the unexplained meet. Patrons come for drinks, music, and conversation, but they leave with the sense that they have encountered something beyond the ordinary. The shifting paintings, the ghostly figures gliding across the polished floor, and the subtle sensations of being watched all contribute to a hauntingly beautiful experience. The Redwood Room stands as a reminder that even in the sleekest, most modern spaces, the past can linger, leaving traces that are both mysterious and compelling, ensuring that every visit is a journey into both elegance and the supernatural. The Frolic Room in Los Angeles is more than a neighborhood burrito, is a living piece of Hollywood history, a relic of the city's golden era, where the glamour of cinema meets the shadows of mystery. Established during the height of Hollywood noir, it has long been a gathering place for actors, writers, and night owls seeking a drink and a story. Its red leather booths, polished wooden bar, and vintage jukebox evoke nostalgia for a time when the streets of Los Angeles were filled with intrigue, secrets, and the unmistakable pulse of ambition. Yet beneath its lively exterior lies a darker undercurrent, one that has made the Frolic Room a magnet for those drawn to the supernatural. Patrons often speak of subtle, eerie sensations that arise as soon as they step through the door. Shadows seem to linger in unexpected places, particularly near the jukebox, where flickering figures are sometimes glimpsed from the corner of the eye. These figures are fleeting and indistinct, always vanishing when approached, leaving only the lingering sense of observation. Many have reported feeling an invisible presence nearby, a chill brushing across their shoulders, or a sudden heaviness in the air, as if unseen patrons from decades past have taken their place among the living. The jukebox itself is a focal point for these strange occurrences. Visitors often notice that songs play without any human intervention, or that the needle seems to skip across tracks on its own. Some claim to hear faint whispers carried on the hum of the music, voices that sound like laughter or soft conversations from another time. It is as if the bar's patrons from the noir era have returned, drawn by the music that once filled the space, sharing the moment with those still alive. These experiences, while unsettling, are rarely hostile. Instead, they carry the weight of history, nostalgia, and unresolved presence. Another chilling phenomenon is the sound of faint sobbing coming from the restrooms. Guests have described the sensation of hearing quiet, mournful cries echoing off the tiled walls, though no one else is present. The origin of this sound remains unknown, but it leaves a lasting impression on those who experience it, a haunting reminder of the human dramas that have unfolded within these walls. Some speculate that the cries belong to forgotten patrons whose stories ended tragically, their emotional residue lingering in the space they once frequented. Others suggest it could be tied to the bar's cinematic past, a reflection of the noir tragedies and moral complexities that Hollywood once dramatized so vividly. The corner booth, a quiet enclave in the dimly lit bar, is another hotspot for spectral activity. Regulars have reported seeing a shadowy figure sitting in the same booth night after night. The figure is vague in form, sometimes appearing as a man in a fedora or a woman in period attire, but always still and observant. Patrons who have sat nearby describe an unshakable feeling of being watched, yet the presence is not threatening, more like a quiet witness to the life of the bar. A lingering soul bound to a place that once defined part of their existence. Bartenders, accustomed to these occurrences, often leave a subtle acknowledgement when serving near the booth, maintaining a delicate balance between the living and the unseen. Employees of the Frolic Room have learned to coexist with these mysterious manifestations. They speak of glasses slightly shifting on the bar, chairs nudged in place, or fleeting chills that seem to move across the room without cause. These occurrences are treated with a mix of respect and acceptance, forming part of the bar's character rather than inciting fear. Patrons, too, are often intrigued rather than intimidated, drawn by the sense that they are witnessing something rare, a place where history and the supernatural converge. The Frolic Room's haunting is deeply tied to its identity. Its ties to Hollywood noir, the stories of past patrons, and its vintage atmosphere combine to create a space where memory and mystery coexist. The shadows by the jukebox, the sorrowful sobbing, and the ever-present figure in the corner booth make every visit a layered experience, blending entertainment with subtle encounters with the past. Patrons leave with stories to tell, moments that blur the line between the living and the spectral, and an appreciation for a bar where history never truly fades. In the end, the Frolic Room is more than just a bar. It is a vessel of Hollywood's legacy, preserving echoes of the past in the present. Its shadows, whispers, and persistent spirits remind all who enter that the glamour of the city comes with its own ghosts, silent observers who remain part of the city's story long after the cameras have stopped rolling. Here, amidst cocktails and conversation, the past lingers, ensuring that the Frolic Room remains an unforgettable, haunting piece of Los Angeles history. Zeitgeist, a beloved punk-inspired beer garden in San Francisco, is famous for its lively outdoor gatherings, eclectic music, and vast selection of craft beers. Its industrial, chic, combined with long communal tables and a sprawling patio, makes it a magnet for locals and tourists alike, drawn to its casual energy and vibrant social scene. Yet beneath the laughter, clinking glasses, and buzzing conversation lies a layer of mystery that has long captured the imagination of patrons and staff. Zeitgeist is not only a place for nightlife and camaraderie, it is a site where the ordinary and the supernatural seem to coexist, creating an atmosphere that is as unsettling as it is magnetic. Many visitors first notice the odd occurrences in the outdoor patio area. It is here that flickering figures are most often reported. Patrons describe seeing shadows move across the garden, sometimes darting behind planters or flickering along the edges of the seating areas. These figures are often indistinct, more like silhouettes than fully formed shapes. Yet their movements are deliberate enough to suggest intelligence. When approached, they vanish, leaving behind nothing but the sensation of being observed. Multiple witnesses frequently report the same phenomena, reinforcing the idea that Zeitgeist's patio is a stage where past and present intersect in mysterious ways. Adding to the bar's eerie ambience is the sound of ghostly laughter. It often begins as a faint, almost imperceptible giggle, growing gradually more distinct before fading again into silence. Patrons recount moments when the laughter seems to come from directly behind them, though turning around reveals an empty space. Others have heard multiple layers of voices, overlapping and distant, echoing off the metal railings and brick walls. The laughter is playful yet unnerving, a reminder that the energy of the beer garden is not confined solely to the living. Regulars sometimes joke about it, attributing it to overactive imaginations. But newcomers often feel a chill and a heightened awareness of their surroundings. Staff members at Zeitgeist are well aware of these peculiarities and often warn newcomers about the cold spots that seem to follow people across the patio. Patrons may feel a sudden drop in temperature, as though someone has passed through, even on warm summer nights. These cold spots are unpredictable and transient, lingering for a few seconds before disappearing as mysteriously as they arrived. For those who are sensitive to such phenomena, the effect can be disorienting, making the bustling outdoor garden feel simultaneously lively and haunted. Bartenders and servers describe these occurrences as part of the beer garden's character, something that must be respected rather than feared. The origin of these strange happenings is a matter of speculation. Zeitgeist occupies a building with a rich history, and some believe that the energy of previous occupants has lingered over the decades. Others suggest that the intense social activity that occurs nightly, the conversations, arguments, laughter, and revelry leaves an imprint on the space, one that occasionally manifests in spectral form. The flickering figures, ghostly laughter, and wandering cold spots may be residual energy, echoes of past gatherings replaying in subtle ways that intersect with the present. Some visitors have described more tactile interactions, adding another layer to the bar's haunted reputation. Chairs have been nudged slightly without explanation. Glasses seem to slide across tables on their own, and certain areas of the patio feel inexplicably heavier with energy. While nothing overtly threatening occurs, the cumulative effect of these experiences is undeniable, leaving patrons with the sense that the beer garden is inhabited by entities who coexist quietly alongside the living. Regular patrons have come to embrace these supernatural aspects as part of Zeitgeist's charm. The flickering shadows and playful laughter create an ambience that is simultaneously thrilling and mysterious, enhancing the bar's punky, offbeat character. Visitors are encouraged to remain open-minded, to notice the subtle anomalies, and to appreciate that the space offers more than just drinks and conversation. It offers an encounter with the unexplained. Many leave with stories of fleeting shadows, unexplained chills, and laughter from nowhere. Tales that add to the beer garden's reputation and mystique. Staff members have developed informal ways to navigate the bar's spectral residents. Some offer a polite nod toward the flickering figures, while others leave small gestures of acknowledgement in areas where cold spots are frequent. These practices are subtle, almost ritualistic, and serve to maintain harmony between the living and the unseen. Employees emphasize that these phenomena are not malevolent. They are part of Zeitgeist's identity, a reminder that the space has a life of its own beyond the customers and music. Zeitgeist's outdoor garden with its industrial charm, string lights, and communal tables, becomes more than just a venue. It becomes a place where time seems to fold in on itself. The flickering figures are traces of the past, the laughter a residual echo of previous joy, and the cold spots an invisible signature left behind. The bar's haunted energy blends seamlessly with its lively atmosphere, offering patrons a dual experience: the excitement of social gathering and the thrill of the supernatural. In the end, Zeitgeist is a beer garden that defies simple categorization. Patrons come for the craft beers, the music, and the camaraderie. Yet, they leave with memories of something stranger and more inexplicable. The flickering shadows, ghostly laughter, and wandering cold spots remind visitors that the space is alive not only with the present, but with echoes of the past, lingering and observing in subtle, uncanny ways. It is a place where history and haunting converge, where the line between the living and the unseen is almost imperceptibly thin, and where every visit carries the possibility of encountering the mysteries that make Zeitgeist both unforgettable and unsettling. Musso and Frank Grill in Hollywood is not just a restaurant, it is an institution, a living testament to the glamour, drama, and history of Hollywood's golden age. Established in 1919, it stands as the oldest restaurant in the city, a place where generations of actors, writers, and filmmakers have dined, plotted, and celebrated. Its bar, polished and inviting, is both a center of social life and a repository of history. Its dark wood counters and leather-backed stools bearing witness to decades of whispered deals, whispered romances, and whispered scandals. Yet for those attuned to its more mysterious side, Musso and Frank's is also a place where the past refuses to stay buried, and where the echoes of old Hollywood appear in unexpected and, sometimes unsettling ways. The bar exudes a unique energy, a blend of elegance and memory that many patrons feel immediately upon entering. Servers and regulars often describe the sensation of being watched, not in a threatening way, but as if invisible guests are quietly observing, keeping company alongside the living. This feeling is particularly strong late at night, when the crowds thin and the dim lighting casts long shadows across the polished wood floors. It is in these quieter moments that Musso and Frank's reveals its spectral side, the unseen presence of those who once graced Hollywood's social and professional circles, lingering as if for one last toast. One of the most commonly reported phenomena involves figures from old Hollywood, often described in precise, vintage attire. Patrons have recounted seeing men in sharp tuxedos, women in elegant gowns, and actors with familiar but ghostly faces, sipping cocktails at the bar. These apparitions often appear mid-conversation, raising a glass, gesturing, or laughing softly, only to vanish when noticed directly. The effect is disorienting. The spirits appear fully formed, almost tangible, yet the moment of recognition is fleeting, leaving only the sense that the past has momentarily stepped forward to mingle with the present. Ghostly whispers are another recurring aspect of Musso and Frank's haunting. Patrons have reported hearing conversations that cannot be explained, soft murmurs drifting across the dining room, snippets of dialogue from decades past, or faint laughter carried on the air. Some say these voices are the echoes of deals being struck, scripts being discussed, or simply the camaraderie of those who once called the restaurant a second home. Staff members have noted that the whispers often rise in pitch or intensity during moments of quiet, filling empty corners with the energy of Hollywood's golden era. These auditory phenomena are subtle but unmistakable, a persistent reminder that the history of the space is more than just decorative. It is alive in some form. Servers and bartenders at Musso and Frank's have their own stories of unusual encounters. Many report objects being moved without explanation, glasses shifting slightly on the bar, chairs nudged in place, or napkins fluttering as if caught by an invisible hand. Some have felt the presence of someone brushing past them, only to find no one there. Longtime staff speak of these occurrences as part of the restaurant's character, an almost familial interaction with the spirits that reside there. Rather than fear them, Employees often greet the unseen with quiet acknowledgement, maintaining a balance that allows both the living and the spectral to coexist peacefully. The bar's rich history provides a context that makes these hauntings feel almost natural. Musso and Frank S. has been a meeting place for the titans of Hollywood since the silent film era, a place where scripts were discussed, contracts negotiated, and legends born. With every glass poured and every conversation held, the space accumulated layers of energy, moments of triumph and disappointment alike, leaving emotional traces that some believe have lingered beyond the lives of those who created them. The spirits of actors, writers, and socialites may be drawn to the bar because it represents both their achievements and the social connections they cherished. Patrons often experience these phenomena in subtle ways. A chill may sweep through the room unexpectedly, or a fleeting shadow might pass along a wall. Some have reported the feeling of a gentle presence settling near their table, as if someone from another time has taken a seat beside them. These interactions are rarely frightening. They are often described as nostalgic or bittersweet, evoking a connection to Hollywood's storied past. Regular visitors have come to appreciate this spectral dimension, finding in it a unique charm that enhances the experience of dining and drinking in such a historic space. Musso and Frank S. Bar is also home to certain hotspots where the supernatural seems most concentrated. The area near the original bar counter, along with tables by the windows facing Hollywood Boulevard, are frequently cited as locations where figures appear or whispers are heard. Guests seated in these areas often report more vivid encounters, feeling as though they are sharing the space with invisible patrons from a bygone era. Bartenders have learned to respect these areas, moving quietly and acknowledging the presence of the unseen as they serve. Despite the hauntings, or perhaps because of them, Musso and Frank's continues to draw a loyal following. Patrons come for the food, the history, and the ambience. But many leave with stories of fleeting encounters, spectral glasses raised in silent toasts, and whispers that linger in memory long after the night ends. The bar's combination of elegance, history, and supernatural energy ensures that every visit feels layered, rich, and occasionally uncanny, a rare opportunity to experience Hollywood's golden era alongside the living and the departed. Ultimately, Musso and Frank Grill's Bar is more than a restaurant. It is a bridge between eras, the figures in vintage attire, the ghostly whispers, and the subtle movements of objects create a sense that Hollywood's past remains ever present, quietly observing and interacting with the modern world. Patrons come for the drinks and the atmosphere, but they leave with a profound awareness that the bar is alive in more ways than one. In this way, Musso and Frank's stands as a testament to Hollywood itself, a place where history, memory, and the unseen converge, ensuring that the city's golden ghosts are never truly gone. And so, dear listener, we have toured through 25 of California's most haunted bars, taverns, and restaurants. Behind every pint glass and beneath every flickering light is a story of those who could not tour, would not leave. They remind us that history is never truly buried. It lingers in every creak of the floorboards, every shadow in the corner, and every icy chill in a crowded room. Should you ever find yourself sipping a drink in one of these places, remember, you may not be drinking alone. The ghosts of California's past just might be sharing a table with you. Sleep well if you can.